Warrior Lore. Chapter 35-21. A skeleton leg and 4 skeleton fingers. TSK. Ling Honggu might be able to advance to the Universe Lord realm if she gets these. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he looked at the pink skeleton parts. He kept them and prepared to make a trip to the spirit demon race later. If Ling Honggu could advance to the Universe Lord realm, she might be a powerful ally in the future. Looking around, Wang Xian and the rest found another third-order universe sovereign realm devil skeleton. Wang Xian's eyes lit up with excitement. With a third-order universe sovereign devil skeleton and over 20 darkness-attributed innate spiritual treasures, the Tai Chi Dragon Plate had a 100% chance of breaking through. At that time, no one below the Universe Lord realm would be able to injure Wang Xian unless they had innate cardinal treasures. Dragon King. I found many things regarding the sorcerers. Tianjun was excited to find many treasures related to the sorcerer's inheritance. Keep them. Also this. Wang Xian waved his arm and threw the innate cardinal treasure to him. Source of Curses, Devil Corpse. This was the only innate cardinal treasure in the Dragon Palace, and it was suitable for Tianjun. Moreover, Wang Xian had an idea. When he fought with others, as long as he injured his opponent and obtained some blood, he could throw it into the Dragon Palace. At that time, Tianjun could curse and kill his opponent directly. That was too terrifying. When Tianjun saw the innate cardinal treasure, his eyes lit up with excitement. He sensed it carefully and was slightly excited. Thank you, Dragon King. Tianjun shouted excitedly. Keep it. Only you are suitable to use it in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian chuckled and looked around. He realized that many treasures had been kept by the Water Tentacle King. Water Tentacle, you can keep the treasures that can help you recover. But for the useless ones, hand them all over. Great. The Water Tentacle King replied with a smile. Also, find the divine country of the other third-order sovereign realm expert. Wang Xian instructed Tianjun. Yes, Dragon King. Tianjun replied immediately. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and checked his gains this time. He was satisfied. Since there were 2 third-order sovereign corpses, Huang Xiaolong should be able to obtain 2 third-order sovereign divine kingdoms. Adding them together, the Dragon Palace would have 3 third-order sovereigns with the combat power of a third-order sovereign. There were also 10 second-order universe sovereigns corpses. He was still preparing to produce a third-order universe sovereign realm expert. In total, there were 4 of them, including Wang Xian, the Aqua Tentacle King, and Tianjun. There would be a total of 7. Wouldn't it be easy for 7 of them to destroy the 100 Cities Alliance? The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. After collecting all the treasures, Sky Formation and the Water Tentacle King went to deal with the Diablo Precantator tribe, search for God's Nation, and go to other castles to see if there were any treasures. He took out a teleportation item and crushed it. A moment later, he appeared in the Great Hall of the Spirit Demon Tribe. Greetings, Dragon King. Seeing Wang Xian's appearance, the guards in the Spirit Demon Tribe main hall greeted him with unusual respect. After a few consecutive visits, Wang Xian had given Ling Honggu several parts of the pink skeleton and a soul return embryo fruit. The Spirit Devil King had already given the order for Wang Xian to be respectful the next time he came. Brother, please inform the Spirit Devil King. Wang Xian said to the expert from the Spirit Demon Tribe. Yes, Lord Dragon King. The expert from the Spirit Demon Tribe nodded and immediately flew out. Brother Wang Xian. Welcome again. The Spirit Devil King appeared in the Great Hall quickly. He looked at Wang Xian with flickering eyes. Ever since he knew that Wang Xian belonged to the Dragon Palace, he had been paying close attention to the war between the Dragon Palace and the 100 Cities Alliance. He naturally knew that the Dragon Palace had a third-order universe sovereign expert. Now that he saw Wang Xian, he could vaguely sense that this third-order universe sovereign expert was the Dragon King, the one in front of him. This made his heart tremble. Not long ago, he was still a second-order universe sovereign expert. Now, he had broken through, and even the 100 Cities Alliance leader was no match for him. His talent and potential were too strong. Spirit Devil King, sorry to disturb you. Wang Xian cupped his fists towards the Spirit Devil King. He was very respectful towards him. After all, He had once dared to protect him under the pressure of the sacred dragon bloodline. Who would have expected Brother Wang Xian to make another breakthrough in such a short period of time? You're much stronger than me. The Spirit Demon King looked at Wang Xian and chuckled. I'm just lucky. Wang Xian smiled humbly. Oh yes, Sir Spirit Demon King. I've gotten some more parts of the pink skull. As he spoke, he took out the pink skeleton leg and 4 finger bones. When they saw Wang Xian take out 5 parts of the pink skull, they were shocked. He was completely dumbfounded. This, little brother Wang Xian, you got so many again. This? He found it somewhat inconceivable. He had always issued missions to the spirit demons to search for pink skull parts. In the end, after hundreds of millions of years, they only found a pink skull. However, Wang Xian managed to get one every few years. This time, it was even more outrageous. He got a skeletal leg and 4 finger bones. This caused him to feel slightly incredulous. I'm just lucky. Wang Xian chuckled again and said, Good luck? This was good luck? The Spirit Demon King did not probe further. He looked at Wang Xian and sighed. I'll thank you on behalf of my daughter. Little brother Wang Xian, follow me. The Spirit Demon King hesitated for a moment before speaking to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian nodded. The Spirit Demon King waved his arm and brought him to the back of the spirit demons. Soon, they came to a humongous building. It was made up of a humongous skeleton. In the land of devil bones, there was no place of paradise. The Spirit Demon King brought him into the skeleton and flew downwards. Soon after, the Spirit Demon King came to a teleportation formation and dripped a drop of blood into it. When the blood merged with the teleportation formation lit up. Such a teleportation formation could only be activated by those with a specific bloodline. The Spirit Demon King looked at Wang Xian, and the two of them stepped in. Wang. The next moment, the scene changed, and they came to an underground palace. In front of them, there was a pile of skeletons burning in flames. Ling Honggu sat quietly in the sky above the flames. At that moment, her head, her body, and her right leg were all in the shape of a red skeleton. Chapter 35:22. Ling Honggu was above the skeleton's flames. Her head and legs looked a little strange upon closer inspection. They seemed to be fused together through a special method. Waves of strong and mysterious energy enveloped her body as flames and darkness fused together. However, the energy in her body was a little unstable. Sensing the arrival of someone, she opened her eyes and looked at her father and Wang Xian with a surprised look. Father, Wang Xian, why are you guys here? She moved and landed in front of them, shouting with a smile on her face. Wang Xian smiled and nodded at her. I brought little brother Wang Xian here. This time, he brought the parts of the pink skull. As the Spirit Demon King spoke, he moved his palm, and the parts appeared in front of Ling Honggu. This, together with the pink skeleton's legs, I'm just short of 2 arms. Ling Honggu looked at Wang Xian with astonishment. She cupped her fists and said, Thank you, Wang Xian. You're welcome. I was lucky to get the parts of the pink skeleton. Wang Xian shook his head. However, I'm afraid I won't be so lucky to get the last part. You've already helped me a lot. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to get even ahead. Ling Honggu said gratefully. Oh yes, father. I've obtained some inherited memories. A very powerful memory inheritance. At this moment, she looked at her father and said excitedly, Powerful inheritance? The Spirit Demon King's eyes were burning with passion as he asked, What powerful inheritance? The inheritor is the previous owner of this pink skeleton. She's called Scarlet Queen. She has both the fire and darkness attributes. According to the inheritance memories I obtained, she was an invincible existence in the 9th Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Ling Honggu said excitedly, What? This caused the Spirit Demon King to tremble slightly. His eyes were filled with excitement. Then, Honggu, do you have confidence in breaking through to the Universe Ruler Realm? This is still a little difficult. Ling Honggu frowned and shook her head. Queen Scarlet is a human expert. I've obtained her pink skeleton body, but it's not complete. Moreover, It's been worn down by countless years and catastrophes. Most importantly, I don't have the bloodline of Queen Scarlet. Bloodline? When the spirit demon king heard this, his face sank. But father, even so, my chances of breaking through to the universe sovereign realm are much higher than before. Moreover, Wang Xian has brought these parts with him this time. After I fuse them with my inheritance, I can kill third-order universe sovereigns in an instant. Ling Honggu said confidently. Good, good. I'm content. Content? Spirit Demon King smiled. If you have Queen Scarlet's bloodline, do you have the confidence to break through to the universe ruler realm? Upon hearing Ling Honggu's words, Wang Xian pondered deeply. Ling Honggu looked at him with astonishment. Wang Xian, you have the bloodline of Queen Scarlet? No. Wang Xian shook his head. It's just an attempt. I'm not sure if it will succeed. Is that even possible? How are you so powerful? Ling Honggu was stunned again when he heard this. Having found so many pink skeleton parts, and now being able to create the Scarlet Queen's bloodline, it was somewhat omnipotent. Brother Wang Xian has already broken through to the third-order universe sovereign realm. The Spirit Demon King was also shocked. He looked at Wang Xian in surprise and anticipation. Brother Wang Xian, you really have a way. If my daughter can give birth to the bloodline of Queen Scarlet, the Spirit Demon race will be eternally grateful. Once Ling Honggu could really awaken the Scarlet Queen's bloodline, she would definitely advance to the universe ruler realm. In that case, the Spirit Demon race would be able to step into the realm of skeletons and become a member of the pinnacle skeleton race. I can give it a try. Wang Xian nodded his head. Given his current relationship with the Spirit Demon race, if Ling Honggu could break through to the universe ruler realm, it would definitely be of great benefit to the Dragon Palace. He moved his palm, and a blood refinement fruit appeared in his hand. Devour it, Wang Xian said to Ling Honggu. This is? Ling Honggu looked at the fruit and felt a throbbing sensation in his body. Even the Spirit Demon King's eyes shone with a blazing luster. The blood refinement fruit was a fatal attraction to them. At the end of the day, the blood refinement fruit was the cause of the demise of the Diablo sorcerer race. If Wu Gue and the rest had not been attracted by the blood refinement fruit, they might not have offended a third-order universe ruler. The blood refinement fruit was definitely a precious treasure in the universe. The blood refinement fruit is also a precious fruit to me. It can refine the purest and strongest bloodline in my body. Wang Xian introduced as he handed it to Ling Honggu. Thank you, Wang Xian. Ling Honggu bowed slightly. At this moment, her head and body were in the form of a skeleton, and there was nothing beautiful about her. Of course, Wang Xian did not have any designs on her. Ling Honggu took it, placed it in her mouth, and swallowed it. Currently, the members of the Dragon Palace had not consumed the blood refinement fruit in Wang Xian's hands. Ling Honggu was the first to consume it. Wang. A strong blood aura surged out from Ling Honggu's body. This blood aura carried a tinge of heat. Spirit Demon King stared intently at the side with a tinge of nervousness in his eyes. Scarlet. At this moment, a voice came from within Ling Honggu's body. This voice did not come from Ling Honggu. It seemed to come from another space. The meaning of the voice was, Scarlet. It was a word that no one could understand. Wang. At this moment, a shadow gradually appeared. The shadow overlapped with Ling Honggu's skeletal body. It was the figure of a woman. She had her eyes closed and was wearing a blood-red dress that was extremely exquisite. Unparalleled beauty. The Queen of Ages. Two words flashed across Wang Xian's mind when he saw the shadow. The shadow appeared for a brief moment before it disappeared into Ling Honggu's body. Dong. Dong. At this moment, a weak sound came from within Ling Honggu's body. Ling Honggu lowered her head and looked at her body. This is the sound of a heartbeat. It's your heart. Honggu, you have a heart. Spirit Demon King's excited voice came from the side. The Spirit Demon clan belonged to the Skeleton clan. It was just that there were some mutations. However, they were still from the Skeleton clan. Skeletons did not have hearts. No bloodline, no blood. Yet, Ling Honggu had developed a heart and was producing blood. Success? Success? As Wang Xian looked over, his eyes were filled with anticipation. Success. Ling Honggu looked at Wang Xian with excitement in her eyes. I've obtained more legacies. I'm the next Scarlet Queen. Chapter 35-23. Ling Honggu had become the next Queen Scarlet. She had never imagined that she would actually obtain such a powerful inheritance. According to the inheritance memories in her mind, as long as she followed the cultivation method, she would become one of the top experts in the universe. Queen Scarlet was the eternal queen of the previous cataclysm. She was a rank 9 universe lord with unparalleled strength. All of this was because of the figure before her. He had helped her obtain the skull of the pink skeleton, gave her powerful treasures, and allowed her to develop a bloodline. Looking at Wang Xian in front of her, she was filled with gratitude. Other than her father, he might be the man who treated her the best. However, when she looked at her own skeletal body, she suppressed all her thoughts. Her heart had been born, and so would her bloodline. Her flesh and blood would grow rapidly. Success. Haha. Honggu, it's a success. The spirit demon race is going to rise. The spirit demon king roared with excitement, his body trembling with excitement. The inheritance of Queen Scarlet, the inheritance of a rank 9 universe lord. She had inherited her cultivation method, her skeleton, and now her bloodline. Now, Ling Honggu was Queen Scarlet. She had 100% chance of breaking through to the universe lord realm. As for the missing hand bone, it could be born in the future when she had the bloodline. The important parts of her body, including the skull, torso, and legs, were no longer important. Congratulations. Wang Xian congratulated Ling Honggu. He was now certain that as long as Ling Honggu didn't die along the way, she would become a universe lord in the future. She would step into the ranks of the top races and become a universe lord. Thank you, Wang Xian. Thank you. Ling Honggu bowed to Wang Xian again. I'll repay your kindness tenfold in the future. Everything is a coincidence. It's all fate. Wang Xian smiled. With the help of a universe lord in the future, it would be a huge force for the Dragon Palace. I'll look for you after I've condensed my bloodline and body. Ling Honggu looked at him and said solemnly. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. I shall not disturb Miss Ling Honggu's cultivation. As he spoke to Ling Honggu, he glanced at the Spirit Demon King. If you have nothing to do, you can stay with the Spirit Demon tribe to cultivate. Honggu will probably be able to condense her physical body soon. By then, her strength will be invincible in the universe supremacy realm, said the Spirit Demon King. No. Wang Xian shook his head. I still have to make a trip back to the Dragon Palace and wipe out the 100 Cities Alliance in an instant. Oh. The Spirit Demon King raised his eyebrows. Brother Wang Xian, if you want to annihilate the 100 Cities Alliance, let's help the Spirit Demon race. I'll lead some experts over. There's no need for that. I'm only going to destroy it because I'm confident. I don't need the help of the Spirit Demon race at all. I appreciate your kindness, Spirit Demon King. Wang Xian rejected with a smile. All right then. If you need any help, just let us know. If you need any treasures, we can also lend you our inborn cardinal treasures of the Spirit Demon tribe. The Spirit Demon King nodded and said with a smile, all right, if there's anything you need, I'll definitely ask. Goodbye. Wang Xian nodded his head. Wang Xian appreciated the kindness of the Spirit Demon King and the rest. The Spirit Demon King would personally bring people over to help, borrow the inborn cardinal treasures? There was no need at all. This time, after Wang Xian annihilated the Diabolus clan, the number of Third-Order Universe Sovereigns in the Dragon Palace would reach 7. This did not include his Nether Ghost doppelganger, Lingling, himself, the Aqua Tentacle King, and the Heavenly Array, who were far beyond the same level. To Wang Xian, annihilating the 100 Cities Alliance was a piece of cake. In a flash, Wang Xian disappeared and returned to the Dragon Palace in the next instant. The Spirit Demon King's eyes flickered when he saw Wang Xian disappearing. He's already confident of annihilating the 100 Cities Alliance. The Dragon Palace really doesn't understand him. The speed of improvement of Brother Wang Xian is really terrifying. The Spirit Demon King lamented. Ling Honggu, who was at the side, remained silent. Buzz buzz. At this moment, the Spirit Demon King's universe AI vibrated violently. When he opened it, his expression changed slightly. The Diabolus clan has been annihilated. When he read the content, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Huh! Father, the Diabolus clan has been annihilated? How? How is this possible?" Ling Honggu asked in astonishment. "They have indeed been annihilated. However, we don't know which force did it. The scene was wiped out by a powerful sorcerer. Only a universe lord would be able to find out." The spirit demon king nodded heavily as his eyes flickered. The Diabolus clan was a clan that was even stronger than the spirit demon clan. Yet, they were annihilated all of a sudden. The Diabolus clan and the spirit demon clan could be considered neighbors. They were both powerful forces in the land of Devil Bones. The spirit demon king was also a little shocked that they were annihilated all of a sudden. "Father, could it be the doing of Wang Xian in the Dragon Palace?" Ling Honggu suddenly asked. She looked at her palm, which was the pink skull part that Wang Xian had given her. "The spiritual intelligence in the pink skull part that he gave me today was obviously wiped out. Moreover, he took out so many of them at once. Perhaps they were from the Diabolus clan's treasure vault." Ling Honggu analyzed. The spirit demon king's eyes flickered. "It's highly possible, but I can't be sure. However, we should be able to see something from the Dragon Palace's intention to annihilate the 100 Cities Alliance. The annihilation of the Diabolus clan might be the doing of Wang Xian." This shocked the spirit demon king greatly. Once upon a time, the Dragon King still needed his protection. His current strength was enough to make him fearful. 1 month later, "I'll annihilate the 100 Cities Alliance." Wang Xian muttered with a smile as he returned to the Dragon Palace. The harvest this time was too great. "Let's upgrade the Tai Chi Dragon Plate first." Wang Xian moved his palm. A Universe Lord's Diabolus skeleton and over 20 darkness-attributed innate spiritual treasures appeared. The Tai Chi Dragon Plate revolved around him as Wang Xian threw the innate spiritual treasures into it, turning them into pure energy. While he was upgrading the Tai Chi Dragon Plate, the Heavenly Array Aqua Tentacle King and the rest returned. The resources of the Diabolus clan began to upgrade the strength of the experts of the Dragon Palace. First, Roving Heavens, Orochi, Roving Demon, and Lei Ming, the 4 leaders, upgraded their strength to the 3rd Order Universe Lord Realm. The rest of the resources were used to upgrade the strength of the Berserk Dragon, Arrow Dragon, and the rest. Rumble, rumble, rumble? Ha ha ha. Just as Wang Xian and the rest began to upgrade their strength, a maniacal laughter reverberated from the 100 Cities Peak. In the center of the 100 Cities Peak, the 100 Cities Alliance leader stood up slowly. His face was filled with excitement. Chapter 35-24. Just one more step. Just one more step and I will be able to break through my shackles. In the center of the 100 City Peak, the leader of the 100 City Alliance looked at his own body with fervent eyes. He was one step closer to the true Universe Dominator realm. Now, his head and body were completely covered in black scales. These were dragon scales of a purebred devil dragon. These dragon scales were the treasures he had obtained from the sacred dragon bloodline. At the same time, there were also large amounts of purebred devil dragon bloodline. This made his strength twice as strong as when he fought with Wang Xian previously. Now, he was confident that he could take on the Dragon Palace expert. Of course, if I take it out, I can easily kill him. The leader of the 100 City Alliance took out a talisman. It was a yellow talisman. The entire yellow talisman exuded a unique energy. When the yellow talisman appeared, the surrounding space seemed to be locked. There were 2 big words on the yellow talisman. One was heavy, the other was kill. Connate Cardinal Treasure. This was a very powerful Connate Cardinal Treasure. However, this was lent to him by the sacred dragon bloodline. In fact, this Connate Cardinal Treasure was not from the sacred dragon bloodline, but from the Angel clan. Even for a force like the sacred dragon bloodline, it was rare for the entire clan to have 1 or 2 Connate Cardinal Treasures. How could they have spare Connate Cardinal Treasures to lend to him? This time, if not for the sacred dragon bloodline being threatened by the Dragon Palace, they would not have lent him the Connate Cardinal Treasure. Dragon-seeking ruler. The next moment, he waved his hand and another treasure appeared in his hand. a dragon-seeking ruler that exuded the power of light. On the dragon-seeking ruler, there was a divine dragon engraved with a light chain that completely restrained the divine dragon. It was said that this was a treasure forged by the great angel of the angel clan, specifically used to search for divine dragon experts with the divine dragon bloodline. The range of this dragon-seeking ruler was terrifying. Dragon Palace, your doomsday is here. I still lack the opportunity to break through. This opportunity might be the purebred divine dragon bloodline. The leader of the 100 City Alliance murmured. All experts above the Lord Realm of the 100 City Cosmos, come here, he bellowed, his voice reverberating throughout the 100 City Peak. The leader has given the order. Go. Are we going to start our revenge? One by one, the experts of the 100 cities flew towards the mountain peak in the center. Leading them were 35 second-order sovereigns. Those at the universe ruler level and above, added together, there were over 300 of them. This was the full power of the 100 Cities Alliance, the power of every universe ruler and above. This power far surpassed the other forces. Even the Diablo Precantator race didn't have that many universe ruler level experts. Even if the Diablo Precantator clan and the Spirit Demon clan were added together, they did not have that many. This was mainly because the 100 Cities Alliance was an alliance of cities. Among the 100 cities, even the weakest one had a first-order sovereign realm expert guarding it. Needless to say, there was no need to mention the top-ranked cities. A total of close to 400 universe Lord-level combatants flew over and arrived at the central main peak. They looked at the Alliance Master, who was covered in dragon scales and exuding a powerful aura, with awe and excitement in their eyes. Alliance Master, are we going to take action? Red Eyes stared at the Alliance Master and couldn't help but ask. Haha, that's right, our 100 Cities Alliance is going to take action. Within 10 years, we will destroy the Dragon Palace. The 100 Cities Alliance Master roared with laughter, his face filled with confidence. Alliance Master, we will be ready to fight at any moment to destroy the Dragon Palace. A city lord's eyes burned with passion as he roared. Now that the Dragon Palace had forced them into this crowded 100-city peak, they were like stray dogs. Their greatest hope now was to destroy the Dragon Palace. It's coming soon. Get all the disciples and armies to prepare. A month later, we will begin the operation to destroy the Dragon Palace. The 100 Cities Alliance Master's face was filled with killing intent as he roared. Yes, Alliance Master. The city lords of the 100 Cities Alliance immediately roared. Announce this news to the world. Our 100 Cities Alliance is going to wipe away our humiliation. The 100 Cities Alliance Master roared. Alliance Master, are you confident? Hearing that they were going to announce this operation to the world, a city lord clenched his fists. I can easily kill that expert from the Dragon Palace. He won't be able to escape even if he wants to. The 100 Cities Alliance Master said confidently. Congratulations, City Lord, for your huge increase in strength. This time, we will definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. That City Lord immediately bowed excitedly. Congratulations, City Lord, for your huge increase in strength. This time, we will definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. The rest of the experts from the 100 Cities Alliance immediately roared loudly. Go and prepare. We will act in a month. The 100 Cities Alliance Master waved his hand, his face filled with intense confidence. With a Sciention treasure in hand, his strength had reached the pinnacle of the Universe Lord Realm. As long as it wasn't a Universe Lord Realm expert, the 100 Cities Alliance Master had the confidence to deal with him. Yes, Alliance Master. The group immediately moved, forming their armies and ordering their disciples. Very quickly, excited roars could be heard from the 100-city peak. We will definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. We will definitely destroy the Dragon Palace. The roars shook the heavens and earth. Very quickly, not long after, on the Universe AI, the 100 Cities Alliance Master announced, 1 month later, we will destroy the Dragon Palace. Just a few words, no other words. Directly announcing this matter, this showed the confidence of the 100 Cities Alliance. Oh, the 100 Cities Alliance Master actually announced that they will destroy the Dragon Palace? Where did they get their confidence from? One should know that not long ago, The Hundred Cities Alliance Master was completely suppressed by the experts from the Dragon Palace. Yeah, why did they suddenly make such a statement? This is a statement that concerns their reputation. It's definitely not made casually. Could it be that they have the confidence to destroy the Dragon Palace? What do they have to destroy the Dragon Palace? How could they be so confident? Could it be that they still have a trump card? Since they made such a statement, they should be confident. The Hundred Cities Alliance has a strong foundation. When the Hundred Cities Alliance made the announcement, it immediately caused a huge commotion. Currently, even the war between the Sacred Dragon Bloodline and the Ancestral Dragon Bloodline was not as exciting as the war between the Hundred Cities Alliance and the Dragon Palace. Every time the Dragon Palace made a move, the Hundred Cities Alliance would suffer defeat after defeat. Now, it was time for them to retaliate? What other trump cards did they have? All the experts from the various forces were shocked. Boom. At the same time, at the location of the Dragon Palace, a wave of light and darkness force swept out. Wang Xian looked at the incomparably heavy Tai Chi dragon plate that was like an ink painting, and his eyes lit up. The Tai Chi dragon plate had a breakthrough. To be able to defend against the attacks of a third-order universe lord so easily, his strength had become even more insane. This brought a faint smile to his face. In a few more days, I will destroy the Hundred Cities Alliance. Chapter 35-25 Dragon King. In the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Turtle sensed Wang Xian's breakthrough and rushed over to greet him respectfully. How are Roving Heavens and the rest doing? Wang Xian asked with a smile when he saw Prime Minister Turtle. Dragon King, Roving Heavens and the rest need another 4 to 5 days to break through. Prime Minister Turtle said. All right, order the other disciples to annihilate the Hundred Cities Alliance after Roving Heavens and the rest break through. Wang Xian said. Yes, Dragon King. Dragon King, there's something interesting. Take a look at the universe AI. The Hundred Cities Alliance has announced that they will annihilate the Dragon Palace in a month's time. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile on his face. Huh. Wang Xian was taken aback as he switched on the universe AI. When he saw the message released by the Hundred Cities Alliance, his face was filled with astonishment. They're so confident? They can annihilate the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian pursed his lips with a smile in his eyes. He had yet to annihilate the Hundred Cities Alliance, and the Hundred Cities Alliance had announced that they would annihilate them. Who gave them such confidence? When I fought with the Hundred Cities Alliance leader previously, he obviously knew that he wasn't as strong as me. How dare he be so arrogant? Wang Xian murmured as his eyes glistened. He must have a trump card to be so arrogant? Did the Sacred Dragon Bloodline help them? That was possible. The Sacred Dragon Bloodline was now the lackey of the Angel Clan. The Sacred Dragon Bloodline was not the only lackey of the Angel Clan. There were many other powerful clans. For example, the Heaven Plant Demonic Beast Clan that they had met previously. The Heaven Plant Demonic Beast Clan was also a very powerful clan. Perhaps the Sacred Dragon Bloodline saw that the Dragon Palace was too strong and requested help from the other clans, sending 1 or 2 third-order sovereigns to help the Hundred Cities Alliance annihilate the Dragon Palace. That was highly possible. Hee, the Hundred Cities Alliance is really arrogant. I'd like to see how many helpers you have this time. Wang Xian chuckled. This time, the Dragon Palace had 7 third-order sovereigns. Wang Xian alone could handle 6 to 7 of them. The Aqua Tentacle King and Sky Formation could handle 2 to 3 of them. Moreover, Sky Formation had the innate treasure, the source of curses, Devil Corpse. Based on the current strength of the Sacred Dragon Bloodline, there will not be more than 2 who will come to help the Hundred Cities Alliance. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. In terms of strength, the Sacred Dragon lineage was inferior to the Ancestral Dragon lineage. The reason why they were able to suppress the Ancestral Dragon bloodline was because they had the support of the Angel race. Hence, when they fought with the Ancestral Dragon bloodline, they would definitely not send more than 2 third-order sovereigns. Otherwise, the Sacred Dragon bloodline wouldn't even need the Hundred Cities Alliance to take action. They could just send their own people to destroy the Dragon Palace. After Roving Heavens and the rest make breakthroughs, we will immediately set off for the Hundred Cities Alliance. We still have to wait for a month? Wang Xian said coldly. Originally, He had planned to wait for another month before making his move. Now, it seemed that there was no need for that at all. "It's Dragon King," Prime Minister Turtle immediately replied. As the days passed, Ao Chitian, Ao Yao and the rest broke through very quickly. In the past few days, the universe AI had been discussing about 100 cities. Many people were looking forward to how 100 cities would destroy Dragon Palace and what other trump cards they had. All the forces were ready to enjoy the great battle. In their opinion, this was the final battle between the 100 Cities Alliance and the Dragon Palace. They were looking forward to it. Buzz. Buzz. However, just as the universe AI was still discussing, at the location in front of 100 Cities Peak. It was an hour's flight from here to 100 Cities Peak. It wasn't near, but it wasn't far either. At this moment, figures gradually emerged from the ground. The number of figures gradually increased to millions. Each of them exuded a powerful aura. It was especially so for those eerie figures of light and darkness. The moment they appeared, they gradually disappeared. Hee. At the forefront, Wang Xian stood there quietly with a smile on his face. "Dragon King, let's head over and seal off 100 Cities Peak." Tianjun and Roving Yao walked to Wang Xian's side and said respectfully, "You guys head over first and seal off any incoming information." Wang Xian nodded his head and swept his gaze across the members of Dragon Palace behind him. Yesterday, Roving Heavens and Roving Yao had completed their breakthroughs. Today, he led the millions of experts of Dragon Palace through the Dark Flame Teleportation Array. Among the millions of disciples of Dragon Palace, the weakest was at the Universe Supremacy level. Among them, the strongest were the Spiky Dragons and Venom Horn Dragons. The Spiky Dragons had absorbed all the resources from several cities and were currently the strongest among the dragon species in Dragon Palace. Next to them were the Witch Dragons. They numbered 10,000. In addition, other than Wang Xian and the other Third-Order Universe Sovereigns, the number of Second-Order Universe Sovereigns in Dragon Palace had reached 36. Universe Sovereigns. Their numbers had reached 100. This was in addition to the Devouring Dragon. This power was already a very powerful existence. Compared to the 100 Cities Alliance, the number of Universe Sovereigns was much lower. However, this was nothing. "Yes, Dragon King." Tianjun and Roving Demon nodded. They immediately flew towards the 100 City Peak. They were both Third-Order Universe Sovereigns. It was enough for them to seal off the area. They didn't need the Witch Dragons and Spiky Dragons to follow them. On the contrary, if the Spiky Dragons and Witch Dragons followed them, they might alert the enemy and be discovered. It would be difficult for the two of them to be discovered. Once they sealed off the entire space, the 100 Cities Alliance wouldn't be able to escape to their own universe kingdom. "Dragon King, it's been sealed." Half an hour later, Tianjun and Roving Yao sent a message. Wang Xian revealed a smile as he looked at the members of Dragon Palace behind him. "Let's go. Today, we'll annihilate the 100 Cities Alliance." Wang Xian shouted. With a move, the unbeginning Saint Wings appeared behind him and a wave of energy enveloped all the disciples of Dragon Palace. Annihilate the 100 Cities Alliance. The group of Dragon Palace members roared as they flew forward immediately. With the help of Wang Xian's unbeginning Saint Wings, their speed was terrifying. They sped along the way. That is, along the way, a dozen figures were flying in the sky. They were shocked to see the experts of Dragon Palace flying in the direction of Baiqing Peak. What a powerful aura! What forces are they from? The dozen figures felt the aura of the Dragon Palace and were shocked. What a dense divine dragon aura! They are from the divine dragon lineage. An expert in the middle sensed and growled. Chapter 35-26 Dragon Palace. They should be members of Dragon Palace. They are heading to 100 City Peak. What are they going to do? Attack the 100 Cities Alliance? Members of Dragon Palace? Brother, how did you know they are members of Dragon Palace? There's a type of divine dragon in Dragon Palace. It's the horrifying devil monkey. It's covered in dragon scales and is extremely violent in battle. I've seen them fighting with the bounty hunters of the 100 Cities Alliance. They are definitely members of Dragon Palace. Astonished voices came from the dozen of them. When they saw the Dragon Palace army disappearing from their sight, They looked at each other in astonishment. Should we go there and take a look? What's going on? One of them opened his mouth and couldn't help but ask. The faces of the other dozen people were filled with curiosity. I bought a high-tech telescope from the technology world not long ago. Why don't we take a look from a distance? A middle-aged man couldn't help but ask. Let's go and take a look. As long as we keep a distance, even if the Dragon Palace and the 100 Cities Alliance fight, we won't be affected. A middle-aged man said with radiance flickering in his eyes. All right. The dozen of them moved and immediately flew towards 100 City Peak. At the same time, Wang Xian and the group of experts and disciples of Dragon Palace approached 100 City Peak quickly. Wang Xian and the rest were very fast. With the help of the energy of the unbeginning sacred wings, they arrived at the front of 100 City Peak in about half an hour. At this moment, the 100 City Peak was still bustling with noise. Countless experts and disciples were gathered in the inner area. However, in the sky above, there were two legions sparring with each other. Both parties were attacking from afar. They were releasing long-range attacks and bombarding each other. This was a practice for the expedition to annihilate the Dragon Palace in 20 days. As the army had just been formed, they had to coordinate with each other skillfully. The sparring between armies would allow them to work together quickly. Down below, the disciples of the Endless 100 City raised their heads and looked up with admiration and respect in their eyes. Those who could enter the 100 City army were the elites of each city. It wouldn't be long before they set off to annihilate the arrogant Dragon Palace. Wang. Just as they were practicing, the army of Dragon Palace gradually appeared at the east of 100 City Peak. At the same time, everything in Baiqing Peak was reflected in the eyes of the disciples of Dragon Palace. Wang Xian stared ahead with a cold gleam in his eyes. Hurry up and surround the 100 City Alliance. He let out a low roar and instantly increased his speed. Wang Xian's voice was loud and clear. Everyone in the 100 City Peak could hear it clearly. At this moment, even if Wang Xian didn't say anything, they had also noticed the arrival of the million-strong army of the Dragon Palace. Upon hearing Wang Xian's command, the Berserk Dragon, Imperial Dragon, Starwood Dragon, and Earthly Lightning Dragon and Earthly Fire Dragon and Phoenix roared and flew to the sides. They formed an encirclement formation and quickly flew over. In the middle, Wang Xian's eyes gleamed coldly. The Arrow Dragon species and the Witch Dragon were behind him and were rapidly approaching. The sudden arrival of the Dragon Palace army and their sudden roar silenced the entire 100 City Peak. Looking at the invading Dragon Palace army, they were dumbfounded. What was going on? Someone was attacking them? Wasn't the leader an expert from Dragon Palace? How dare they attack us? All the experts and disciples of the 100 City Alliance were shocked. Rumble. At this moment, the leader of the 100 City Alliance, who was on the central peak of the 100 City Peak, sensed the arrival of the Dragon Palace army through the array. Slightly taken aback, he flew out immediately. He hovered in the air and looked in the direction of the Dragon Palace army. Dragon Palace? He stared at Wang Xian with intense murderous intent. Dragon Palace, it's really you guys. I didn't annihilate you, but you guys came to die. Ha ha ha, great. Hee hee, 100 City Alliance leader, a loser. Today is the day you die. How dare you be so arrogant? Wang Xian stared at the leader of the 100 City Alliance with a mocking look. In a while, he would like to see how arrogant the other party could be. Die. You're the one who's going to die today. Just nice. We don't have to look for the bunch of vile dragons from Dragon Palace anymore. Today, we'll slaughter all of you. The leader of the 100 City Alliance sneered. He didn't know where Dragon Palace got its confidence from to attack them. But since the other party was here, he was confident that he could annihilate them completely. All experts and disciples of the 100 City Alliance, get ready to tear the disciples of Dragon Palace into pieces. The leader of the 100 City Alliance roared as he flew forward. Kill the enemies. Annihilate the bunch of vile dragons from Dragon Palace. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Below, experts with Universe Lord-level combat strength followed closely behind the leader of the 100 City Alliance. They stared at the million-strong army of Dragon Palace with murderous intent in their eyes. They had never expected the army of Dragon Palace to kill their way here. How could they? At this moment, they didn't back down. Their Alliance Master possessed terrifying combat power. All the forces of the 100-City Alliance were gathered here. How could they not be a match for Dragon Palace? One had to know that even the ancestral dragon bloodline had to take the Alliance seriously. The combat strength of 3 to 400 Universe Lord-level combat strength was at the forefront among the advanced races. Since Dragon Palace was here to seek death, they would tear this group of enemies apart and suppress this bunch of vile dragons. Kill, kill, kill. The experts and disciples of the 100-City Alliance roared as their eyes were filled with murderous intent. How dare a million-strong army go against their army of tens of millions? Their 100-City Alliance had tens of millions of disciples, and all of them were elites. What did Dragon Palace have to compete with our elite army of tens of millions? All of them were brimming with sharpness. Hee. Wang Xian looked at them and revealed a faint smile. The 100-City Alliance was really confident. All disciples of Dragon Palace, kill them. Wang Xian saw them rushing to the edge of the 100-City Peak. Without further ado, he gave the order to attack. Kill. All the disciples of Dragon Palace roared. Wang Xian made a move and flew straight ahead. His eyes were fixed on the leader of the 100-City Alliance and were filled with coldness. You're asking for death. Today, I'll fulfill your wish, vile dragons. The leader of the 100-City Alliance smiled eerily. With a flick of his palm, the staff appeared in his hand. He raised it high, and the array of the entire 100-City Peak was activated. The 100-City Peak was his old nest that had been set up for billions of years. Chapter 35:27. Rumble, rumble, rumble. When the 100-City Alliance leader activated all the formations on the 100-City Peak, the 108 peaks immediately trembled. A shadow flew out from each peak. These phantoms slowly solidified, forming a terrifying mountain peak. On each peak, there was an innate spiritual treasure. At this moment, the aura emitted from each peak was exceptionally terrifying. The shadow of the largest peak in the center immediately came below the 100 Alliance leader. He stood there, looking extremely terrifying. SSS, what a terrifying aura. It feels like any peak can crush us. A first-order sovereign realm expert felt the terrifying 108 mountain peaks, and his face was filled with shock. Our alliance leader is so strong. This is a place that our alliance leader has been managing for billions of years. Here, our alliance leader can fight against 2 to 3 people of the same level. The experts of the 100 Cities Alliance watched this scene with excitement on their faces. Die. Ha ha ha. The 100 Cities Alliance leader roared. With a wave of the magic staff in his hand, huge peaks charged towards Wang Xian and the Dragon Palace army. Destroy these peaks. Wang Xian let out a low growl. He flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and attacked the mountain peaks directly. Compared to the previous peaks, this one was even more terrifying because it was within the array. Wang Xian's attack power was similar to those of the same level. It would be troublesome for him to destroy the array. It's the Dragon King. It's the Dragon King. At the side, Roving Heavens and Roving Crab Laming let out a deep roar before charging towards the mountain peaks. Roar, roar, roar. They roared and transformed into the humongous Devil Monkey, Devouring Dragon, and Lightning Dragon. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, Wang Xian had already arrived in front of the peaks and punched them. The peaks that were solidified by the array exploded. Swish, swish, swish. At the same time, Dark Ghost's doppelganger snatched away the innate spiritual treasures on the peaks. 3 innate spiritual treasures were in his hands. Roar, roar. At this moment, Roving Heavens, Lei Ming, and Roving Crab also charged over. Roving Crab was not included in the advancement of the experts of the Dragon Palace. Roving Crab had devoured the god nation of a third-order sovereign realm expert. His breakthrough speed had exceeded Wang Xian's expectations. Ao Xie's current cultivation level had already reached the universe ruler realm. Unfortunately, because of his dragon species, he could only fight 2 realms above him. However, that wasn't important. What was important was that AOC's combat strength was at the Third Order Universe Sovereign Realm. They rushed over and immediately bombarded the mountain peaks. Boom! In an instant, the mountains crumbled as they reached out to grab the Khanate numinous treasures. What? Alliance leader, save us. At this moment, the universe sovereigns from the 100-City Alliance were shocked. There were even Third Order Universe sovereigns? There were 5 of them? Save them? The 100-City Alliance leader shuddered when he saw this scene. He was controlling the array to fight against the 3 Third Order Universe sovereigns from the Dragon Palace. He still had to fight against Wang Xian, who was charging towards him. This was already his limit. Why would he save them? Hold on. I'll kill this Dragon King immediately. The 100-City Alliance leader roared as he moved his palm. At this moment, he could no longer hide. The strongest attack, the strongest Khanate Cardinal Treasure. Khanate Cardinal Treasure, Yellow Heavy Kill Talisman. With the Yellow Heavy Kill Talisman in his hand, he charged towards Wang Xian. Heavy. The Yellow Heavy Kill Talisman expanded as the 100-City Alliance leader roared. On the Yellow Heavy Kill Talisman, the word heavy shone brightly and a yellowish glow enveloped the surroundings. Huh, this is Khanate Cardinal Treasure? Wang Xian could feel the aura of the Yellow Heavy Kill Talisman and his eyes narrowed. You don't have any helpers, but you have an Khanate Cardinal Treasure. Is this your trump card? He murmured as his eyes flickered. Chapter 35-28. Wang. A grayish-yellowish aura shrouded the surroundings. Instantly, Wang Xian felt a strong gravitational force falling on him. This gravitational force was not the kind of terrifying attraction force, but the kind of pressure that came from all directions. Instantly, Wang Xian could sense that his speed had been greatly restricted. Lingling. Wang Xian bellowed and Lingling appeared beside him. Lingling. Lingling looked around and waved the water lotus staff in her hand. The yellowish aura around her slowly moved away. What? The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance was shocked to see the appearance of Lingling and the fact that the attack of the inborn Cardinal Treasure was slightly neutralized. What's that? He couldn't help but bellow. Tai Chi Dragon Coil. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He moved and the Tai Chi Dragon Coil spun around him as he charged towards the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. Lingling waved the water lotus staff and continuously expelled the surrounding yellow aura. This did not hinder Wang Xian's speed in the slightest. Damn it! What's that? Heavy Kill Talisman. Heavy. The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance was in disbelief as he roared again. Waves of yellow aura pressed towards Wang Xian. The Tai Chi Dragon Coil spun rapidly and waves of ink-like energy blasted towards the surroundings. Lingling also waved her staff to fend off the yellow aura. The Tai Chi Dragon Coil and the Companion Spirit had completely fended off the attack of the inborn Cardinal Treasure. Swoosh! Wang Xian flapped his unparalleled sacred wings and instantly appeared before the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. His dragon claws clawed at him. This speed! The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance narrowed his eyes when he saw this. The inborn Cardinal Treasure in his hand was useless. The blood-red eyes on his body shone brightly, and a blood moon appeared in the air. Around this blood moon, an incomparably terrifying dark demon dragon slowly appeared. The blood moon hung high in the sky and shone on Wang Xian. The demonic dragon swayed and charged towards Wang Xian. Bam! However, these attacks were a little too slow. Wang Xian's dragon claws landed on the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. The dragon scales on the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance shone brightly as he resisted the attack head-on. Bam! A huge collision sound was heard, and he directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Roar! The dark demonic dragon in the sky charged towards Wang Xian. Buzz! Wang Xian's body trembled as Dark Ghost charged forward. Boom! The sound of a collision could be heard. The dark demon dragon was easily blocked. No, what the hell is this? The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance glared at him and roared. This dark demon dragon had the support of the Red Eye and the Array Formation. It was absolutely terrifying. However, a phantom flew out from the Dragon King's body and easily blocked it. What? Buzz! While the 100-City Alliance Master was still in a daze, a shadow of light and darkness appeared behind him. The 100-City Alliance Master didn't notice the strange figure appearing. The sharp dagger landed on his body and cut off a piece of his flesh. The 100-City Alliance leader's hair stood on end, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. But to his astonishment, that figure attacked and instantly flew backward. What is this? The 100-City Alliance leader's eyes were wide open as he roared in disbelief. Just now, he thought he was going to be severely injured. In the end, the other party merely injured him and cut off a piece of his flesh. This made him feel extremely lucky. In fact, it wasn't that roving demon didn't want to injure him severely. Instead, he was surrounded by a khaki energy, which greatly reduced his speed. He could only maintain that uncanny speed for a moment, but it would be enough if he could get a piece of the other party's flesh. Seeing roving demons attack, Wang Xian revealed a smile. He didn't continue to attack. Instead, he hovered in the air in front of him and looked around with a smile. 100-City Alliance leader, before you die, take a look around and see how your 100 Cities Alliance will be destroyed, he said emotionlessly, his eyes filled with contempt and mockery. Today, he wouldn't be able to escape. Upon hearing Wang Xian, the 100-City Alliance leader immediately looked around. The array formation of the 100-City Peak had been activated. The strongest were the 108 peaks, and each peak could unleash terrifying attacks. But now, the peaks started to crumble, and the Xiantian treasures were being taken away. Without his control, the attacks of the array were extremely weak. Under the attacks of 3 third-order universe sovereigns, it crumbled rapidly. Perhaps in a few dozen seconds at most, the 108 mountain peaks would completely collapse. Below them, the terrifying demonic beast was massacring the 100-City Alliance's universe sovereigns. Over 300 universe ruler-level experts couldn't stop her. Every second, over a dozen universe sovereigns were killed. They weren't her match at all. In front of them, the Dragon Palace's army charged over. His heart sank, and he felt despair. At the very front, there was another third-order universe sovereign. His body trembled, and all eyes stared at Wang Xian. How many third-order universe sovereigns do you have? Why does the Dragon Palace have so many experts? The 100-City Alliance leader's body trembled as he stared at Wang Xian and roared. His face was filled with malevolence and madness. How many third-order universe sovereigns had been exposed? What could the 100-City Alliance use to defend against so many experts? They're too strong. Alliance leader, they're too strong. We're no match for them. No, no, no. Run, run. All disciples and experts of the Glaze Honeycomb City, run now. Run back to your divine kingdom. Alliance leader, we can't hold on any longer. Run. All disciples and experts, run now. At this time, screams of agony could be heard. Run. The Dragon Palace's strength wasn't something they could defend against. It wasn't something the 100-City Alliance could defend against. They had too many top-notch experts. Some of the city lords even ordered their disciples and experts to run. With one city lord taking the lead, more and more city lords followed suit. Some experts looked over at the 100-City Alliance leader, and when they saw that he couldn't do anything to the Dragon King, they felt despair. Run. This time, the 100-City Alliance leader was completely defeated. They swore that they would never go against the Dragon Palace and would never participate in a war again. Look, the experts and disciples of the 100-City Alliance are trying to escape. Wang Xian's gaze swept across, landing on the 100-City Alliance leader, and his eyes were filled with ridicule. However, it won't be that easy for them to escape. He added another sentence indifferently. Just as he finished speaking, clouds appeared out of nowhere in the sky above 100-City Peak. A special energy enveloped the entire 100-City Peak. Chapter 35-29. Wang. A unique cloud appeared in the sky above the 100 Cities Peak. A space-locking energy enveloped the entire 100 Cities Peak. The 100 Cities Alliance leader felt the energy of the array when he saw the sudden appearance of the cloud. His body trembled violently. This array was definitely created by a third-order universe sovereign realm sorcerer. There were more third-order universe sovereigns around them? There were more? How many were there already? What kind of enemy did they offend? The Hundred Cities Alliance leader was initially confident that he could annihilate the Dragon Palace. Who would have thought that this would happen? The other party charged over with unparalleled strength. The Hundred Cities Alliance leader felt his vision turning black as his body trembled violently. How many third-order universe sovereigns does the Dragon Palace have? How many do you have? He widened his eyes as he stared at Wang Xian and bellowed. Now, he was in despair. The strength of the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King were too terrifying. Oh no, no, I can't return to my holy kingdom. The space around us has been sealed. It's over. The surrounding space has been sealed. We can't escape. We can't escape. There's a teleportation array on the peak. Let's escape through the teleportation array. Quick, use the teleportation array to escape. When the cloud shrouded the entire region, the countless experts and disciples of the Hundred Cities Alliance widened their eyes as their hearts crumbled. This area of space was actually sealed. Facing the unparalleled strength of the Dragon Palace, death awaited them if they couldn't escape. They didn't want to die. They wanted to escape. They wanted to escape in a frenzy. The only way to escape now was through the teleportation array. Don't let the disciples of the Hundred Cities Alliance, who are above the universe supremacy realm, escape. Wang Xian looked down. There were over 80 cities within the Hundred Cities peak, and there were too many disciples and experts, densely packed. Some wanted to escape through the teleportation array. As there were too many of them, Wang Xian didn't want to kill too many of them. However, those above the universe supremacy realm could forget about escaping. Firstly, their corpses were resources. Secondly, it was to prevent them from taking revenge on the Dragon Palace in the future. As for those below the universe supremacy realm, the Dragon Palace could totally ignore them. It's the Dragon King. Everyone, kill him. Jia. Our Dragon King is merciful. The weak can live, but those above the venerable realm can forget about escaping. If you dare to escape, our attacks will hurt the weak. Don't blame us for being cruel. Yamada Demon Fiend and the others roared. In the Hundred City Alliance, the universe ruler-level experts were being suppressed by the Water Tentacle King. The rest of the armies of the Hundred Cities Alliance were like vegetables on the chopping board to the Dragon Palace army, slaughtered at will. There weren't any experts with the combat strength of a universe ruler. The Yamada no longer had the combat strength of a third-order universe ruler. He hadn't even made a move yet, completely and utterly crushed. No. When the universe supremacies heard this, their faces were filled with despair. They wanted to fly towards the teleportation formations on the mountain peaks, but they were directly shot to death by arrows. That terrifying shockwave also directly killed some of the weaker cultivators. It could be said that these weaklings were killed by them. Sometimes, in war, the weak are innocent, but because of their standpoint, they had to pay the price. They were like commoners. It was already good enough that Wang Xian didn't kill them. If it were a war between different races, it would have resulted in the annihilation of the entire race. Just like the war between the ancestral dragon bloodline and the sacred dragon bloodline. That was a true war of annihilation. As long as they were the disciples of the other party, regardless of their strength, age, they would be killed. Dragon King, even if I die today, I'll kill you. The Hundred Cities Alliance leader's body trembled violently when he saw this almost certain outcome, and he roared in a stern voice. With a flick of his hand, the word kill on the yellow kill talisman shone brightly. The earthy yellow energy in the surroundings gradually gathered together, forming the word kill with terrifying energy. When Wang Xian saw the inborn cardinal treasure releasing its aura again, he narrowed his eyes and looked over coldly. Even if I die, I'll kill you. The Hundred City Alliance leader bellowed. Yellow kill talisman, kill. When the word kill was formed, it locked onto Wang Xian. At this moment, Wang Xian had a feeling that the word kill had locked onto him, as though it had been imprinted between his eyebrows. This was a very creepy feeling. This was the power of an inborn cardinal treasure. Your attack is a little too late. Wang Xian looked at the Hundred City Alliance leader quietly, and said something that he couldn't understand. Die. At this moment, the 100-City Alliance leader didn't listen to Wang Xian. He controlled the inborn cardinal treasure to attack him. Just as the yellow kill talisman was about to attack Wang Xian, the head of the 100-City Alliance leader cracked open slowly. Out of nowhere, it cracked open in an extremely creepy manner. The sudden and creepy attack caused the 100-City Alliance leader to widen his eyes in horror. Arg. No, no, no. What is this? Feeling the horrifying attack invading his body, the 100-City Alliance leader broke down completely. What kind of attack was this? Why was it so creepy? It was unbelievable. Even a curse wouldn't be this creepy. His head cracked open slowly, and the yellow kill talisman he was controlling trembled slightly. Wang Xian looked at the alliance leader of the 100 Cities Alliance quietly, watching as his body was gradually torn apart. He stared at Wang Xian with widened eyes as his body trembled uncontrollably. His ferocious face was filled with despair. Today, I'll perish together with the 100 City Alliance. A neutral force had to join the war with the divine dragon lineage because of greed. You're asking for it. Wang Xian stared coldly at the 100 City Alliance leader and said calmly. Upon hearing his words, the 100 City Alliance leader closed his eyes slowly. All his indignation and anger had turned into helplessness at this moment. Defeated, utterly defeated, buried with the entire 100 City Alliance. But there was no chance for him to do it again. His life force slowly disappeared, and he fell to the ground. The Alliance leader is dead. Our Alliance leader is dead. At this moment, a loud exclamation sounded. All the surrounding experts and disciples of the 100 City Alliance lost their will to fight. The Alliance leader was dead. The Alliance leader whom they were confident of annihilating the Dragon Palace was dead. Under the attack of the Dragon Palace, he didn't even have the chance to retaliate. The gap between them and the Dragon Palace was too huge. It's over. We're completely finished. Some of the city lords were filled with despair when they saw the situation. There was no hope of survival. Chapter 35:30. Arg. Screams rang out incessantly. The death of the Alliance leader was a huge blow to all the experts and disciples of the 100 Cities Alliance. Some of the 100 Cities Alliance's army had already given up resisting and were waiting for death. Not long ago, they were still clamoring to destroy the Dragon Palace. Now, what awaited them was death. Life was unpredictable. At this moment, they realized that making an enemy of the Dragon Palace was the worst decision they had ever made. It was their choice to walk towards death. With the resistance reduced, the Dragon Palace's attack did not stop. One by one, the supremacies of the 100 Cities Alliance were slain. There were more than 80 cities. How terrifying was the number of elite experts that they had. It was no exaggeration to say that the number of supremacies of the 100 Cities Alliance was 5 times that of the Dragon Palace. It was the quality, not the quantity. For the Dragon Palace to have the quality they had today, it was because they had destroyed several cities of the 100 Cities Alliance and the Diabolus clan, and the other party was still 5 times that of the Dragon Palace. Apart from that, they had close to 400 Universe Lords, which was 3 times that of the Dragon Palace. But now, they were being slain rapidly. The 100 Cities Alliance was swiftly annihilated. Wang Xian looked over. With a swift move, he flew towards the heavy kill mystery talisman. This was a connate cardinal treasure, one that was full of power and mysteriousness. This was an Earth attribute connate cardinal treasure. He flew over and immediately grabbed the yellow kill talisman in his hand. Wang. Suddenly, when Wang Xian grabbed the talisman with his palm, a horrifying force of light flew out from the talisman. What? When Wang Xian sensed the horrifying power of light, his expression changed. Tai Chi Dragon Coil. He roared, and the Tai Chi Dragon Coil covered the yellow kill talisman. Bam! But at this moment, a pair of wings of light appeared around the yellow kill talisman. The wings of light carried the yellow kill talisman and flew towards the west. The Tai Chi Dragon Coil was easily smashed through. At the sight of this, Wang Xian's face darkened. This connate cardinal treasure had been set up by a Universe Lord. This was to prevent the Khanate cardinal treasure from being lost. A Khanate cardinal treasure was a treasure even to the top races in the universe. Many universe ruler realm experts did not even have their own Sciention cardinal treasures. Looking at the inborn cardinal treasure flying away, Wang Xian knew he couldn't stop it. He shook his head speechlessly. The methods of a peak race in the universe were still not something he could withstand. However, the harvest this time was enough. His gaze swept across the surroundings. The battle was about to end. After keeping the corpse of the alliance leader, Wang Xian made a move and flew towards the central peak at the bottom. He could sense that the 100-city alliance leader's Cosmos God Empire was within this mountain. After entering the mountain peak, he headed straight for the 100-city alliance leader's divine kingdom. The 100 cities alliance leader's divine kingdom wasn't very big, but there were many treasures inside. This time, the Dragon Palace will receive a huge upgrade. Moreover, the 108 primordial spiritual treasures will be enough for the 5 elements grindstone to achieve a breakthrough. Wang Xian searched the holy kingdom of the 100 cities alliance leader with excitement written all over his face. The war with the 100 cities alliance had lasted for more than 10 years. Today, they were finally annihilated. After annihilating them, the strength of the Dragon Palace was enough to reach the top of the peak in the universe. I wonder if it can be compared to the ancestral dragon bloodline or the sacred dragon bloodline. He murmured to himself. This time, the Dragon Palace could add 4 to 5 third-order universe sovereigns to the Dragon Palace. 4 to 5 in addition to the current number of third-order universe sovereigns. As for Wang Xian's own strength, he wasn't sure if he could go head-to-head with a true universe sovereign. Even if he wasn't a match for the other party, he shouldn't be killed so easily. Of course, the prerequisite was that the other party didn't have any inborn cardinal treasure. Inborn cardinal treasure was still a little too mysterious. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? At the same time, in the far east of the 100-city peak, a dozen experts were floating in the void. In front of them was a telescope, a powerful telescope from the world of science and technology. The world of science and technology was the pinnacle of science and technology in the universe. They were the strongest experts in the world of science and technology. They were also the only power with science and technology in the chaotic continent. It could be said that in one aspect, the world of science and technology was monopolized, and this telescope could see extremely far-away places. Through the telescope, they could clearly see the battle at the 100-city peak. They saw the experts of the Dragon Palace killing their way to the 100-city peak and saw the 100 Cities Alliance being slaughtered easily. Yes, it was an easy slaughter. As they were too far away, they couldn't sense the power of the battle and naturally didn't know the strength of the other party. But through the telescope, they could see that the battle was completely one-sided. It was even an easy crushing. The 100 Cities Alliance didn't even have the strength to resist. The powerful 100 Cities Alliance master had been slain in a strange way. From the beginning to the end of the battle, it was extremely short, so short that it was unbelievable. What kind of power was the 100 Cities Alliance? Even though the Dragon Palace had destroyed many cities, there were still over 80 cities in the Alliance. The strength of their alliance was equivalent to the combined strength of over 80 high-level races. It was definitely a terrifying force, but now they were slaughtered easily. This battle seemed to be an unfair slaughter. From the beginning to the end, it took less than 10 minutes. Annihilation in 10 minutes was simply unbelievable to them. Is this the strength of the Dragon Palace? The 100 Cities Alliance was annihilated so easily. This is the 100 Cities Alliance, a power that stood in our chaos continent for close to 10 billion years. It was annihilated just like that? Just how strong is the Dragon Palace? Just how many experts do they have? Over 10 experts roared in disbelief. One of them immediately sent the news they saw to the universe AI. At first, no one believed it. Isn't this news a joke? Not long ago, the 100 Cities Alliance announced that they would annihilate the Dragon Palace. How could the 100 Cities Alliance be annihilated by the Dragon Palace now? Did the Dragon Palace have the strength to do so? When the Dragon Palace appeared, it obviously didn't. And just when many people were in disbelief, a series of messages suddenly burst out. These messages were all released by the weaklings that escaped from the 100 City Peak through the teleportation formation. The annihilation of the 100 Cities Alliance and the deaths of their experts made them completely homeless. They were wantonly venting on the universe AI system, publicizing it. When the disciples of the other factions saw the large amounts of news, their eyes widened. It was filled with disbelief. Chapter 35-31. News of the 100 Cities Alliance being wiped out spread like wildfire on the AI, especially when the person who published the news claimed that it was Dragon Palace who wiped out the 100 Cities Alliance. Many found it inconceivable and unbelievable. However, as time passed, after 5 to 6 hours, images started to appear on the AI. The images were of the 100 City Peak. These images were taken by the dozens of experts. They only dared to come to the 100 City Peak after all the experts from Dragon Palace had left. Over at the 100 City Peak, many peaks had collapsed due to the battle. However, only a few dozen had collapsed. This was because Dragon Palace had completely crushed the 100 Cities Alliance. The battle was tragic for the 100 Cities Alliance, but it wasn't tragic for Dragon Palace at all. Instead, they had easily wiped out the 100 Cities Alliance without much fighting. As a result, the battlefield was not as tragic as it seemed. However, when the images from the 100 City Peak were uploaded to the AI, many immediately recognized that it was the old nest of the 100 Cities Alliance, the 100 City Peak. At this moment, there were no living beings inside, and it looked desolate. Below, there was some fresh blood, but not much blood. A one-sided battle. It was an easy one-sided battle. Dragon Palace's Dragon King and his group of experts flew to the 100 City Summit and easily killed the 100 City Alliance chief. The 300 over-universe rulers on the 100 City Summit didn't even have the ability to resist. What we want to know now is, why is Dragon Palace so strong? On this image, there was a line of questions. This news was the hammer for the 100 Cities Alliance to be wiped out. They were really wiped out, completely wiped out. Hiss. The 100 City Peak was the headquarters of the 100 Cities Alliance. The 100 City Alliance leader was a powerful sorcerer. As a sorcerer, he had managed the 100 City Peak for billions of years. His strength was at the Third Order Universe Lord realm, and with his array and geographical advantage, he could easily fight against 2 or 3 experts of the same level. Even so, he was easily wiped out? How strong is Dragon Palace to be able to kill their way to the 100 Cities Alliance's headquarters? Dragon Palace definitely has more than 1 or 2 Third Order Universe Lords. Is this the power of Dragon Palace? Why do I feel like they are getting more and more terrifying? Isn't this too strong? I want to know if there are experts from the ancestral dragon's bloodline participating in this battle. If not, then this Dragon Palace is terrifying. On the universe AI, the news of the 100 City Alliance's destruction was like a rock. Countless powers were discussing in shock. The power displayed by the Dragon Palace was too terrifying. The other side was the 100 Cities Alliance. However, if the ancestral dragon bloodline did not intervene, how powerful would the Dragon Palace be when all the high-level clans united? Just how strong was a force that could easily destroy the 100 Cities Alliance? The war between the ancestral dragon lineage and the sacred dragon lineage is still ongoing. I don't think the ancestral dragon lineage has helped the Dragon Palace. Since the Dragon Palace could easily annihilate the ancestral dragon lineage, the Dragon Palace can be called the third major divine dragon faction. Some experts sighed in their hearts. With such strength, they were already at the top of the higher races in the primordial continent. There were only a handful of high-level races that were more powerful than the Dragon Palace. The third major divine dragon force, the Dragon Palace, had completely risen. Just as the universe AI was discussing about the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian and the rest had returned to the Dragon Palace, and all the treasures in the 100 Cities Alliance had been obtained by them. This time, the resources were extremely terrifying. All disciples, increase your strength immediately. I'm going to move the Dragon Palace to the Eternal River. Wang Xian stood in front of the Dragon Throne and said with a smile, "Yes, Dragon King." The group of Dragon Palace leaders responded immediately. The resources obtained this time were enough to make the Dragon Palace's strength undergo an earth-shattering change. Wang Xian smiled and waved his arm. Some of the arrays that the 100 Cities Alliance used to suppress the Dragon Palace collapsed instantly. He moved and came to the top of the Dragon Palace. Following closely, he brought the Dragon Palace towards the Eternal River. The flying speed of the Dragon Palace wasn't slow under the lead of Wang Xian and the rest. However, it would still take close to 3 years to reach the Eternal River. This time would pass in the blink of an eye in the primordial continent. Wang Xian had no choice. The current location of the Dragon Palace was still at the edge of the primordial continent. It was just at the edge of the mountain Sea-Earth Sea. The distance was still too far. However, Wang Xian only needed to slightly control the direction of the Dragon Palace. Moreover, it wouldn't affect his cultivation. The Dragon Palace was flying in the mountain sea ocean. Roving heavens and the rest were around it, intimidating some of the wild beasts. With a flick of his palm, the 5 elements grindstone appeared before him. With a flick of his palm, over 308 spiritual treasures appeared before him. Connate numinous treasures were not as precious as connate cardinal treasures. There were quite a number of connate numinous treasures. Most importantly, connate numinous treasures could be forged from the body parts of powerful desolate beasts and living creatures. All the universe ruler-level experts in the 100 Path Alliance had Xiantian treasures. Moreover, Wang Xian had obtained over 300 of the 5 elements. With over 300 connate numinous treasures, the 5 elements grindstone was guaranteed to break through. It was just that he didn't know if it would be able to cross a level and reach the universe ruler realm, the level of connate cardinal treasures. Sitting cross-legged in the sky above the Dragon Palace, the 5 elements grindstone was rapidly absorbing the over 300 connate spiritual treasures of the 5 elements. The 5 elements grindstone's absorption speed was very fast. It was practically 1 connate cardinal treasure a day. However, if he wanted to completely absorb it, it would still take half a year. The Dragon King and the rest have annihilated the 100 Cities Alliance. This is unbelievable. At the same time, Qing Longyue, Qing Longshuing, and the other experts from the ancestral dragon bloodline were in disbelief when they saw the message on the universe supercomputer. The 100 Cities Alliance has been annihilated? Annihilated by the Dragon Palace? How strong are the Dragon King and the rest now? Given the strength of the 100 Cities Alliance, they would need at least 3 to 4 third-order universe rulers to invade their lair and annihilate them, right? Qing Longyue clicked his tongue as he spoke in shock. At the very least, I really didn't expect the Dragon Palace to be this strong. Did they encounter some kind of opportunity to grow so quickly? Qing Longshuing also shook his head in shock. He couldn't understand it at all. However, the annihilation of the 100 Cities Alliance by the Dragon Palace is also beneficial to us. The sacred dragon bloodline and the Dragon Palace are destined to be enemies. Qing Longshuying's eyes flickered as he spoke. Qing Longyue and the rest nodded their heads. The Dragon Palace and the sacred dragon bloodline were already enemies. The stronger the Dragon Palace was, the greater the benefits to the sacred dragon bloodline. Chapter 35-32. The annihilation of the 100 Cities Alliance by the Dragon Palace had stirred the entire chaotic continent. From today onwards, the Dragon Palace had officially stepped into the ranks of the top-notch high-level races. From today onwards, no forces could belittle the Dragon Palace. The rise of the Dragon Palace was good news for the disciples and experts of the ancestral dragon bloodline. Similarly, the Spirit Demon King, who was far away in the land of Devil Bones, was certain that the Diabolus clan was annihilated by Wang Xian and the others. The Spirit Demon King was also slightly impressed by Wang Xian. From a divine dragon that needed his protection a few years ago, it had grown to a force that was even stronger than the Spirit Demon tribe. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace was friends with the Spirit Demon tribe. To the ancestral dragon bloodline, the rise of the Dragon Palace was a good thing. But to the sacred dragon bloodline, it was not good news. In fact, the moment the 100 Cities Alliance leader was killed and the Connate Cardinal treasure returned to the Angel tribe, the sacred dragon bloodline had already received the bad news. However, they did not know the exact situation. Now, when they saw the news that was buzzing on the internet, all of them were filled with shock. How did the Dragon Palace rise so quickly? How did they improve so much? Even the 100 Cities Alliance leader, who possessed the Khanate cardinal treasure and had the geographical advantage, was killed? In a void, the sacred Dragon King looked at the news reported by his subordinates with an ugly expression. The sacred dragon bloodline had hunted down the experts of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace and the ancestral dragon bloodline were on the same side. This was clear to all forces. Originally, the sacred dragon bloodline did not take the Dragon Palace seriously, even when the Dragon Palace killed the experts of the sacred dragon bloodline. Not long ago, the experts of the Dragon Palace defeated the 100 Cities Alliance leader. They still did not take the Dragon Palace seriously. According to their speculation, after the sacred dragon bloodline lent the 100 Cities Alliance leader a Khanate cardinal treasure, the 100 Cities Alliance leader could easily annihilate the Dragon Palace. Unexpectedly, before the 100 Cities Alliance leader could make a move, the Dragon Palace came and annihilated them. The terrifying strength displayed was enough to make the sacred dragon bloodline fearful. In fact, the sacred dragon bloodline and ancestral dragon bloodline only had slightly more than 23rd order sovereigns in total. Relatively, the sacred dragon bloodline was weaker than the ancestral dragon bloodline. After all, they were of the divine dragon bloodline, the dragon race that had once stood at the peak. In terms of cultivation, there was still a great advantage. But because of the accumulation in time, there were only about 20 of them. At their level of battle, every third-order ruler would have a huge impact on the outcome of the battle. The rise of the Dragon Palace was undoubtedly not a good thing for them. I have to destroy the ancestral dragon as soon as possible. This king's true enemy is the ancestral dragon. He is the real trouble. As long as the ancestral dragon is destroyed, I can easily destroy the Dragon Palace. The Holy Dragon King growled in a low voice, his eyes shining. He was very confident that he could destroy the ancestral dragon. Once it was destroyed, he might be able to find and open the divine kingdom of his ancestors. I'll kill that ancestral dragon first, then I'll deal with your Dragon Palace, he murmured. Time passed day by day. The universe AI was still discussing. The members of the Dragon Palace and the 5 Elements Grindstone were all improving. The Dragon Palace shuttled through the ocean and quickly entered the interior of the chaotic continent. A month passed in a flash. On this day, all the experts and disciples of the Dragon Palace had completed their breakthrough. This was because they had obtained the god kingdoms of 3 third-order sovereigns from the devil witchcraft race, allowing Aosia to improve. This time, they obtained the god kingdoms of the 100 Cities Alliance leader, allowing another devouring dragon to break through, reaching the third-order universe sovereign realm. Other than that, 3 more third-order universe sovereigns were born. The number of third-order universe sovereigns in the Dragon Palace had reached 12. As for the 2 million disciples of the Dragon Palace, the increase was even greater. The number of elites in the 100 Cities Alliance was 4 times that of the Dragon Palace. All these resources were concentrated on the disciples of the Dragon Palace. What kind of concept was that? This caused the weakest member of the Dragon Palace to have the combat strength of a 4th-order universe venerable. The combat strength of the universe sovereigns in the Dragon Palace, including the devouring dragons, reached a total of 750. 750. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. At its peak, the 100 Cities Alliance only had 400 universe sovereigns. The strength of the Dragon Palace had skyrocketed. The improvement of the experts of the Dragon Palace, coupled with the enhancement of several third-order universe sovereigns, increased the speed of the Dragon Palace's flight. 3 months later, when the Dragon Palace flew out of the ocean and entered the sky above the continent, Wang Xian's 5 Elements Great Grindstone broke through. After absorbing over 90 innate spiritual treasures, the grindstone broke through directly. At this moment, the 5 Elements Great Grindstone contained a terrifying aura. Shadows of innate spiritual treasures flickered on the grindstone. At this point, the 5 Elements Great Grindstone and the Tai Chi Dragon Coil had both reached the third-order universe sovereign level. Coupled with the unbeginning sacred wings, Lingling, and the Dark Ghost Avatar, Wang Xian's strength could easily kill experts of the same level with innate spiritual treasures. Who? After the upgrade, the 5 elements Great Grindstone absorbed the remaining innate spiritual treasures at a much faster rate. After absorbing all these innate spiritual treasures, even if the 5 elements Great Grindstone did not break through again, it might not be far from the next breakthrough. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. This time, he had obtained too many treasures. Now, the Dragon Palace has truly stepped into the inner part of the chaotic continent. Wang Xian stood in the sky above the Dragon Palace, looking down at the continent before him and mumbling to himself. Now, the Dragon Palace had finally stepped onto this stage. The Dragon Palace shuttled through the sky, attracting the attention of some dire beasts and other living beings. Some living beings looked over curiously and sized it up. What's that? It looks like a dragon palace? A dragon palace is flying in the sky so brazenly? Some experts came to the surroundings of the Dragon Palace and whispered. What they did not know was that this was the Dragon Palace of the Dragon Palace. Boom. However, in the next moment, a suffocating aura swept across the surroundings. In the face of this aura, they couldn't even stand in the void and directly fell down. Dragon Palace is moving, all of you. Make way. Following which, an authoritative voice rang in their minds. Hearing this, they immediately widened their eyes, and their eyes were filled with shock. Dragon Palace is moving, all of you. Make way. Chapter 35-33. The Dragon Palace is migrating. Make way. The Dragon Palace is migrating? Are they really going to step into our inner continent? The Dragon Palace was still at the edge of the continent not long ago. Where are they migrating to this time? When the Dragon Palace entered the inner part of the chaotic continent, when the Dragon Palace flew unscrupulously in the sky, it caused quite a commotion. After all, how could a humongous Dragon Palace not attract attention when it flew past the cities and races? At the beginning, some forces and experts tried to get close. Some advanced races even forbade flying above them. However, when the experts of the Dragon Palace displayed their prowess, no one dared to get close. In the sky above some advanced races, they quietly watched the Dragon Palace fly past them and did not dare to stop it. Some races even sent experts to welcome the Dragon Palace when it flew past them. After annihilating the 100 Cities Alliance, the Dragon Palace now had a foothold in the entire universe. As the Dragon Palace traveled rapidly in the inner part of the chaotic continent, days passed. It was rare for Wang Xian to have time to rest with the girls in the Dragon Palace. On the universe AI, many forces and experts were curious about where the Dragon Palace was going to migrate to. Some said it was the old lair of the 100 Cities Alliance, while others said it was somewhere else. The entire universe AI was in a heated discussion. The time taken for the Dragon Palace to migrate was shorter than expected. After more than a year, they arrived at the side of the Heaven Eternal River. As the water from the sky fell, the Dragon Palace also gradually landed here. It landed in front of the blessed land of heavenly abodes. The Heaven Eternal River was a branch of the Mountain Sea. From this side, one could directly enter the Mountain Sea. This was the ideal resting place for the Dragon Palace. Within a few days, the other forces in the inner part of the continent knew about the Dragon Palace's location in the Heaven Eternal River. On the same day, the leader of the Thunder Light Tribe and the rest came to visit. Wang Xian welcomed them. Dragon King, do we have any plans now? Prime Minister Turtle asked after the Dragon Palace settled down at the Heaven Eternal River. Now that the Dragon Palace was strong enough, the next development would be a different story. Let's settle down for now. If there are disciples of the Dragon Palace who want to train, let them enter the ocean of the Mountain Sea. Wang Xian instructed. Today, the Dragon Palace's biggest enemy, the 100 Cities Alliance, had been destroyed. They had no more enemies. As for the Sacred Dragon Bloodline, he was not prepared to directly join the war between the Ancestral Dragon Bloodline and the Sacred Dragon Bloodline due to the distance. Most importantly, Wang Xian still had no idea where the battlefield between the Ancestral Dragon Bloodline and the Sacred Dragon Bloodline was. Now that the Ancestral Dragon's bloodline was in conflict with the Sacred Dragon's bloodline, The ancestral dragon's leader did not summon all the ancestral dragon's disciples to prepare for war. It was as if the battlefield of these experts was in a very distant place. In that case, there was no need for Wang Xian to join them directly. After all, he had never seen the leader of the ancestral dragon before. In addition, I would like to announce that the Dragon Palace is recruiting disciples with the divine dragon bloodline. Some demonic beasts of the water tribe can also come to the Dragon Palace. As long as they can pass the Dragon Gate, they can also join the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Also, call Thunder, Water Dragon King, Water Dragon Queen, Fire Dragon, Ao Feng, Light Divine Dragon, Darkness Divine Dragon, and Gold Dragon over. Wang Xian continued to instruct. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Soon, a group of pure-blooded dragons from the Dragon Palace flew over. Currently, the Dragon Palace had 7 types of divine dragons: Gold Dragon, Water Dragon, Fire Dragon, Wind Dragon, Thunder Dragon, Light Divine Dragon, and Darkness Divine Dragon. There were a total of 20 pure-blooded dragons. 20 pure-blooded dragons was not a big number. Greetings, Dragon King. The group of pure-blooded dragons greeted him respectfully. Now that there are 20 pure-blooded dragons, the Dragon Palace will build an army of pure-blooded dragons. After all, the foundation of the divine dragon tribe is still the pure-blooded dragons. Wang Xian looked at them and said with a smile, I have a treasure in my hands that can help the Dragon Palace produce more pure-blooded dragons. For the next period of time, you will select a pure-blooded dragon as a reserve member from all the members of the Dragon Palace. The number of each attribute is temporarily set at 100. Her? Yes, Dragon King. Thunder, Water, Dragon King. And the rest were delighted when they heard Wang Xian's words. Pure-blooded dragons were the foundation of the Dragon Palace. It would be extremely beneficial for the Dragon Palace to produce pure-blooded dragons. This was because only pure-blooded dragons could give birth to mutated dragons. The strength of a mutated dragon was a level higher than a pure-blooded dragon. Among the current dragon species, only the witch dragon species could be compared to the mutated dragons. However, the witch dragon species had a huge flaw. They needed to master a large number of arrays. As long as they could master more arrays, they could be comparable to the mutated dragons. However, it was a pity that even the heavenly arrays could not be compared to the mutated dragons of the same level. Other than the mutated dragons, the Dragon Palace had another powerful dragon species. In the past, it could fight 4 levels higher than the mutated dragons. But now, as their strength increased, their potential was being depleted rapidly. With their potential reduced, they could not fight 4 levels higher than them. That was the Heaven Lightning, Earthly Fire Dragon, and Phoenix species. Currently, the mutated dragons in the Dragon Palace were only Wang Xian's sister and Qing Lan. They were mutated skeletal dragons. Other than them, there were 2 other creatures with greater potential in the Dragon Palace: Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai. Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai were nurtured by the ancient god Kuan breeder, Lan Qingyue. However, Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai could only be comparable to the mutated dragons when they grew up. This growth required them to devour the bloodline of a large number of pinnacle races. In particular, they had to devour pinnacle races like the Divine Dragon, Phoenix, and Divine Tiger. If they devoured more, they could also be comparable to the mutated dragons. Mutated dragons were hard to come by. However, as long as the number of pure-blooded dragons increased, they would naturally mutate. Therefore, the pure-blooded dragons were the foundation of the divine dragon race. They had to be increased. You guys go ahead, Wang Xian said to them. The group of pure-blooded dragons nodded their heads immediately and went to make preparations. Wang Xian looked at the blood refinement fruit in his hand. To increase the number of pure-blooded dragons in the Dragon Palace, he would need 1,000 blood refinement fruits. If he were to absorb them in the land of blood plasma, he would need more than 500 years. About 500 years. In fact, 500 years is considered a short period in the chaotic continent. Many experts go into seclusion for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. He mumbled to himself. This time, he was prepared to go into seclusion. He would get more blood refinement fruits after entering the land of blood plasma. Chapter 35-34. With the idea of creating an army of purebred divine dragons, Wang Xian was ready to take action immediately. He called Guan Shuqing and the other girls over and explained the situation to them. After all, this seclusion would last at least 500 years, and they had never been separated for so long. Wang Xian wasn't even 100 years old yet. In the great desolate continent, he was still a child who hadn't weaned off his mother's milk. Since it was going to take such a long time, he naturally had to say it. However, he didn't need to cultivate all the time during this closed-door cultivation. He only needed to watch from the side. He could move around in the vicinity, but he couldn't stray too far away. Guan Shuqing and the other girls naturally had no objections, but they had to stay by his side. This kind of thing was not a big problem. In the remaining time, Wang Xian assigned the Heavenly Array to set up the teleportation formation. The teleportation array from the Heaven Eternal River to the land of Demon Bone and the land of Blood. Because the distance was too far, they needed to set up at least a few dozen teleportation arrays, and it would take them 3 to 4 years to set up. Wang Xian did not wait for him to set up the teleportation formation. Instead, he led the group of girls and flew towards the land of Devil Bones. When they arrived at the blood pool of the land of Devil Bones, Wang Xian brought them to the bottom of the ground. Subsequently, the branches of the progenitor tree reached down and began to condense the blood-refining fruit. Guan Shuqing and the other girls started to build the surroundings. Not long after, they had transformed this place into a cozy little palace. At the top of the palace, the Water Tentacle King laid there silently, acting as a gatekeeper. Only Wang Xian and his group would dare to build a palace in the land of blood. Even the Spirit Demon King and the others wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous in the blood pool. But Wang Xian had no scruples. Even the land of Demon Bone might have a true ruler of the universe. With Wang Xian's own strength and the Aqua Tentacle King's, he could totally take on a true universe dominator. This wasn't Wang Xian's own guess, but what the King of Water Tentacles had said. After all, she used to be a true cosmic dominator-level astral beast. Wang Xian, the 5 elements grindstone, the unbeginning sacred wings, the Tai Chi dragon coil, the dark ghost doppelganger, Lingling, and the Aqua Tentacle King. He had too many trump cards. Next, Wang Xian and the rest settled down in the land of blood. A blood refinement fruit could be born every 6 months or so. Time passed very quickly. Wang Xian and the rest would have some entertainment and group cultivation every day. As for group cultivation, do you understand dual cultivation? Wang Xian and the rest were prepared to wait until they reached the true universe dominator realm before they could get their hands on some small divine dragons. Time passed very quickly in the universe, and the interior of the great wilderness continent also fell into a short period of peace. The battle formation between Dragon Palace and the 100 Cities Alliance had ended. In the war between the ancestral dragon lineage and the sacred dragon lineage, other than some fights between disciples, there were very few universe ruler-level battles. 500 years passed by quickly, and the number of blood refinement fruits in Wang Xian's hands had reached close to 1,000. However, Wang Xian did not stop, because for the time being, there was nothing to do in the Dragon Palace. The members of the Dragon Palace also stepped into the inner part of the chaotic continent to train. Most of them entered the seas of the mountains and seas. The seas were the final home of the mystical Dragon Clan. In the past, the Divine Dragon Clan had occupied Divine Dragon Island in the mountains and seas. As for the current situation on Divine Dragon Island, no one knew. 500 years had passed, and Wang Xian did not stop. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Very quickly, 1,000 years had passed. Ha ha ha, Ancestral Dragon King, I am finally going to slaughter you. I am finally going to slaughter you. At the same time, on the beach at the edge of the mountains and seas, a maniacal laughter was heard. A sacred light divine dragon was suspended in the sky, and around him was a dazzling dragon ball. Beside the dragon ball, there was a pair of horrifying light dragon eyes. Not only that, beside the dragon ball and the 2 dragon eyes, there was a book. It was a book of light. On it was written the Book of Taboo. Beside the Book of Taboo, there was a light mountain peak. Each of the treasures contained a terrifying amount of energy. Every one of them was an innate cardinal treasure. For innate cardinal treasures were suspended around the sacred Dragon King, giving off a terrifying aura. Below, there were 5 corpses, and each of them was a purebred divine dragon. 2 light divine dragons, 1 earth divine dragon, 1 gold divine dragon, and 1 fire dragon. In the middle of these 5 corpses, there was a huge divine dragon, water divine dragon, the leader of the ancestral dragon lineage. At this moment, he was extremely weak, and his body was filled with horrifying wounds. If I wasn't severely injured, how would I be killed by a lackey like you? You tarnished the bloodline of the divine dragon. The ancestral dragon leader said indignantly. He was indignant to die at the hands of a lackey. Lackey, you're courting death. In the future, I will spread your bones in my Dragon King Hall. I will step on you forever. When the sacred Dragon King heard his words, he roared furiously. Ha ha ha, a lackey will always be a lackey. You've forgotten the glory of your ancestors' bloodline. Although I will die today, the glory of the bloodline of the divine dragon lineage will never be covered in dust. In the future, there will be a divine dragon who will kill you and wash away the contamination of the divine dragon bloodline by a lackey like you. The ancestral dragon leader roared with a maniacal smile. He firmly believed that the glory of the divine dragon lineage would come. You talk too much nonsense. Die for this king. When the sacred Dragon King heard the ancestral dragon leader's words, his eyes were filled with rage. He waved his dragon claws, and the dragon ball above his head attacked the ancestral dragon leader. The ancestral dragon leader looked at the attack indifferently and quickly sent out a message. Boom! With a heavy blow, the ancestral dragon leader's vitality slowly disappeared. The leader of the ancestral dragon generation, who had great ambitions and inherited the divine dragon's will, died just like that. This represented the end of an era for the divine dragon lineage. It represented the death of a belief of the divine dragon lineage. Ha ha ha, the divine dragon lineage is revered by me. Ancestral Dragon King, die. The sacred Dragon King looked at the corpse below and could not help but laugh maniacally. Finally, he had finally killed the ancestral dragon. In the future, no one in the divine dragon lineage would be his match. As for the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King, could they compare to the glorious ancestral Dragon King? The leader of the ancestral dragon lineage had been killed. The sacred Dragon King naturally would not hide this news. Soon, the photo of the ancestral dragon leader's corpse was sent to the universe AI. On this day, thousands of dragons roared. Countless divine dragons shed tears. Countless disciples of the divine dragon lineage cried out in sorrow. They roared angrily. They had never imagined that their leader would be killed by the sacred Dragon King. However, the universe Lord-level experts of the ancestral dragon lineage received a message from their ancestral dragon leader before he died. There was only one message. It was not to avenge him, nor was it to destroy the sacred dragon lineage. It was to be careful of the phoenix. Chapter 3535 SSS. The leader of the ancestral dragon has been killed by the Holy Dragon King. This is unbelievable. The king of the ancestral dragon bloodline. He was an expert with great ambitions and the demeanor of a peerless divine dragon king. But he was actually killed. How is this possible? The leader of the ancestral dragon is an extremely powerful expert. In my opinion, unless a universe ruler realm expert makes a move, it would be very difficult to kill him. What the hell is going on? The leader of the ancestral dragon was killed just like that. I'm afraid the war between the sacred dragon bloodline and the ancestral dragon bloodline will end with the sacred dragon bloodline's victory. I really didn't expect that the divine dragon bloodline might be the one to rule. There's also the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace doesn't seem to be on good terms with the sacred dragon lineage. The leader of the ancestral dragon has been killed. What is the Dragon Palace? Although the Dragon Palace has displayed great strength, there is still a huge gap between them and the ancestral dragon bloodline. That Dragon King is even more incomparable to the ancestral dragon chief. The sacred dragon is going to be the king of the divine dragon bloodline. On the universe AI, the news of the ancestral dragon bloodline leader's death caused a huge uproar. The leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was once hailed as the strongest under the universe ruler realm. He was said to be a divine dragon who had the potential to step into the universe ruler realm. He was known as the hope of the divine dragon bloodline. But now, he had been killed by the Holy Dragon King. This made many people feel regretful. Compared to the Holy Dragon King, they hoped that the ancestral dragon leader could win. This was because the Holy Dragon bloodline had clearly become the angel's lackeys. As for the ancestral dragon leader, he said that everyone could become a dragon, showing his strong ambition and breadth of mind, gaining the admiration of many experts and disciples. Now, he had actually fallen. The fall of the ancestor dragon leader also represents the fall of the divine dragon bloodline's final hope. In the future, the divine dragon bloodline will probably never reach its peak again. An expert on the universe's AI said. This statement was agreed upon by many experts and disciples of the various races. The ancestral dragon leader's strength and breadth of mind were worthy of being the king of the divine dragon lineage. Unfortunately, the king was dead. From now on, the ancestral dragon's bloodline would either be hunted down by the sacred dragon's bloodline or be disbanded. That was because their backbone had fallen. Wang Xian had been here for 1,000 years, located in the land of blood. In these 1,000 years, he had harvested 2,000 blood refinement fruits. This also meant that the Dragon Palace could give birth to 2,000 purebred divine dragons. Originally, he was going to continue his seclusion. The fact that they had built a palace here in the land of blood attracted the attention of many living beings in the land of blood. There were demon skeletons, desolate beasts, and skeleton experts. At first, there were some creatures that came to harass them, but after the Water Tentacle King easily killed them, it became a forbidden area. It became a special forbidden area in the land of blood. Buzz Buzz. Wang Xian, who was prepared to stay here for another few thousand years, received a message from Prime Minister Turtle. The news was about the death of the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline. When he saw the news, he was also slightly stunned and his face revealed a startled expression. The leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was actually dead. He actually died. When he first stepped into the interior of the chaotic continent and heard that anyone could become a dragon, he admired the leader of the dragon ancestors' bloodline. From the words of Qing Longyue and the rest, he could tell the respect they had for their leader. The leader of the ancestral dragon, who had the demeanor of a king, was killed by the sacred dragon king. The sacred dragon king killed the leader of the ancestral dragon. Wang Xian was also shocked by the news. He took a deep breath and switched on the Universe Intelligence Network. When he saw the message, he couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Such a hero had died just like that. Moreover, he died in the hands of the traitor of the divine dragon bloodline. What a pity. Xiaoxian, what's wrong? Guan Shuqing and the other girls looked at him and asked doubtfully, "Take a look at the message on the Universe Intelligence Network." Wang Xian said to them, "The leader of the ancestral dragon was killed by the sacred dragon king." Soon, the exclamations of the girls could be heard. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment. He opened the communication channel of Qing Longyue and sent a message. He wanted to confirm the authenticity of this news. At the same time, in a green dragon palace, a group of disciples of the divine dragon bloodline, led by Qing Longyue, were kneeling in the palace. They were facing the same direction with tears on their faces. They were paying their respects to their leader, their king. "Senior, the Dragon King has sent an inquiry." When Qing Longyue saw Wang Xian's message, he looked to Qing Longyue. "I've received it too." Qing Longyue nodded. "Senior, are we going to tell the Dragon King about the last message from our leader?" Qing Longyue couldn't help but ask. Although they didn't understand the specific meaning of the last message, it was extremely important for their leader to pass on the last message before his death. "The Dragon King is on the same side as us." Qing Longyue remained silent for a moment before saying, "Our leader has fallen." The future of the Divine Dragon bloodline lies with the few seniors and the Dragon King. In that case, I'll tell the Dragon King about this, Qing Longyue said. Qing Longyue nodded. We can't tell anyone about this. However, the Dragon King is still trustworthy. As expected, he really died. In the blood pool, Wang Xian soon received Qing Longyue's reply. When he saw the confirmation, he was filled with mixed feelings. A king of a generation had passed away. Right at this moment, Azure Dragon Moon suddenly sent him another message, causing him to falter slightly. Wang Xian's eyes widened in shock when he saw this message. It was the message that the ancestral dragon leader had warned them before his death. Beware of the phoenix? Beware of the phoenix? Wang Xian murmured as his expression changed. Why should they be wary of the phoenix? Since ancient times, there were some races in the universe that used the dragon and phoenix as their totems. As the saying went, the dragon and phoenix bring prosperity. According to the records of the Divine Dragon bloodline, the Divine Dragon bloodline and the Phoenix bloodline had a close relationship. Now, the ancestral dragon leader suddenly sent the words "Beware of the phoenix." What did this mean? Why would he send such a message? What kind of signal was it? Could it be that the Phoenix bloodline was not to be trusted? Or could it be that the Phoenixes were trying to harm the Divine Dragons? Or was the Phoenix bloodline being unfavorable to the Divine Dragon bloodline? The Phoenix bloodline was in existence from the same era as the Divine Dragon bloodline. They were also one of the more powerful top races. The Phoenix bloodline was reborn from the dead. Wang Xian shook his head and committed this message to memory. He no longer thought about this matter. The Phoenix bloodline was not something he could touch now. I wonder what the Divine Dragon bloodline will do next? Where will the ancestral dragon bloodline go? He murmured. Chapter 35-36. Let's go back to the Dragon Palace first. After receiving the news of the ancestral dragon leader being killed, Wang Xian did not continue his seclusion. There should be some changes in the Divine Dragon bloodline after this. The Dragon Palace had a grudge against the Sacred Dragon bloodline. Now that the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline had been killed, it could be said that the ancestral dragon bloodline had lost this war. Would the Sacred Dragon bloodline deal with the Dragon Palace next? Would the Sacred Dragon lineage attack the Divine Dragon lineage wantonly? Although it was not clear, the Dragon Palace had to make some preparations. The girls nodded and returned to the Dragon Palace in a flash. Dragon King. Upon arriving at the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Turtle immediately came to Wang Xian and greeted him respectfully. Wang Xian nodded. How's the improvement of the purebred divine dragons in the Dragon Palace? Dragon King. Their battle prowess has already reached the peak of the universe supremacy level. Prime Minister Turtle immediately reported. Over the past 1,000 years, whenever Wang Xian obtained some blood-refining fruits, he would send them to the Dragon Palace so that some disciples of the Dragon Palace could evolve into purebred divine dragons. In 1,000 years, the number of purebred divine dragons in the Dragon Palace had reached 2,000. 2,000 purebred divine dragons. Even if the total number of purebred divine dragons from the ancestral dragon lineage and the sacred dragon lineage were added together, it still wouldn't be that many. Moreover, the Dragon Palace's resources were mainly focused on them, allowing them to reach the peak of the universe venerable realm. Out of 2,000 purebred divine dragons, a mutated divine dragon was born. Frost Divine Dragon. North Frost. Bei Shuang was the only female disciple of Wang Xian. She possessed a mutated frost constitution. In the past, after she joined the Dragon Palace, she had the opportunity to become a mutated frost divine dragon. But in the end, something was still missing. Now, this missing ingredient had been filled. Among the 2,000 purebred divine dragons, Bei Shuang was the only mutant divine dragon. Mutated divine dragons were exceptionally powerful. However, his current combat power was only at the second-order universe sovereign realm. It wouldn't be easy for him to break through to the universe ruler realm. However, when she reached the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm, she could already fight against a universe ruler realm expert. He still needed a lot of resources to reach this step. Prime Minister Turtle passed down the order. Pay more attention to the sacred dragon bloodline and the ancestral dragon bloodline. If they make any moves, we'll be ready. Wang Xian continued instructing Prime Minister Turtle. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Wang Xian took out the Universe AI and sent some messages to Azure Dragon Moon, Azure Dragon Suing, and the rest. The leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline had been killed. He wanted to know where the rest of the ancestral dragon bloodline's experts and disciples should go. Azure Dragon Suing and the others quickly replied. For the time being, there was no response from the ancestral dragon lineage. Currently, the ancestral dragon bloodline was like a group of dragons without a leader. However, the ancestral dragon bloodline still had over a dozen third-order sovereigns. They were still waiting for their seniors' orders. Whether it was to avenge the leader or something else, it was up to these seniors to make arrangements. As for the other experts of the divine dragon bloodline, they did not have the strength or authority to regroup them. Clearly, the death of their leader, coupled with the fact that the ancestral dragon bloodline had been separated for a long time, caused the ancestral dragon bloodline to be unable to react immediately. Now that the ancestral dragon bloodline is like a group of dragons without a leader, pass down my orders. The sacred dragon bloodline will unify the divine dragon bloodline. Those who don't join the sacred dragon bloodline will be the enemy of the sacred dragon bloodline. As for the enemy, the sacred dragon bloodline will annihilate them. At the same time, the sacred dragon king, who was in the Radiance God Mountain's sacred dragon bloodline, gave an order. His eyes were cold. The current divine dragon bloodline only had the Radiance divine dragon, the ancestral dragon bloodline, and the dragon palace. The leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline had been killed. There was no longer any threat. And with the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline dead, the sacred dragon king felt that no one could threaten them. The ancestral dragon bloodline was their enemy. Needless to say, the dragon palace was also their enemy. Since they were all enemies, they could either submit or die. Taking advantage of the time when the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was killed, he would completely unify the divine dragon bloodline. As long as he unified the divine dragon bloodline, he would be the king of the divine dragon bloodline. Therefore, he gave such an order. Those from the divine dragon bloodline would either join the sacred dragon bloodline or die. Yes, sacred dragon king. The powerful figures of the sacred dragon bloodline answered excitedly. Haha, once we kill those who refuse to submit, we will represent the divine dragon clan. The sacred dragon bloodline will also change its name to the divine dragon clan. The sacred dragon king laughed heartily. His eyes were filled with excitement. Father, give all members of the divine dragon bloodline a year to consider. 1 year later, I will personally go to war and help you unify the divine dragon clan. Below him, Sun Shanglong's face was filled with respect and fighting spirit as he spoke. All right, the sacred dragon king smiled. Once the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline is dead, I will give you the Khanate cardinal treasure. No one will be your match. The sacred dragon bloodline will definitely be able to unify the divine dragon bloodline. However, it is a pity that we did not obtain any information about the ancestral dragon kingdom from the ancestral dragon king. It is not that easy to obtain the ancestral water dragon kingdom. However, in the future, the ancestral water dragon kingdom will definitely belong to you, Father. The sacred dragon's son sucked up to him. The sacred dragon king nodded slightly, and a smile appeared on his face. After all, the ancestral water dragon kingdom belonged to the disciples of the divine dragon bloodline. It was impossible for others to covet it. As long as he unified the divine dragon bloodline, the ancestral water dragon kingdom would definitely belong to him. On the Universe AI, the death of the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was still the most shocking news. Countless experts and disciples of the various factions were discussing it. Not long after, another piece of news caused another huge uproar. This news was released by the Sacred Dragon Bloodline. The Sacred Dragon Bloodline was recruiting all members of the Divine Dragon Bloodline. In 1 year, they would completely destroy the enemies of the Sacred Dragon Bloodline. This piece of information caused many experts' faces to be filled with shock. The Sacred Dragon Bloodline's announcement was very obvious. They wanted to unify the divine dragon bloodline. Those who joined the sacred dragon bloodline within a year were not enemies. Those who did not join were all enemies. While everyone was shocked by the sacred dragon bloodline's news, they also felt that it was reasonable. Currently, the sacred dragon bloodline was the strongest, especially the sacred dragon king. He was almost invincible below the universe ruler realm. After the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was killed by him, he was an invincible existence in the divine dragon bloodline. It was reasonable for an invincible existence to make such a statement. Soon, this news spread throughout the entire universe AI. Wang Xian also received this news at the first instance. Indeed, the sacred dragon bloodline was going to attack all the disciples and experts of the divine dragon bloodline. Chapter 35-37 Dragon King. The sacred dragon bloodline is obviously declaring war on US by making such a statement. Within the Dragon Palace, all the members had received this message. Prime Minister Turtle raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw this message. Prime Minister Turtle had also sent people to conduct a comprehensive understanding of the sacred dragon bloodline. Based on his analysis, the Dragon Palace had nothing to fear. Most importantly, the strength of the Dragon King, Aqua King, and Sky Formation could not be measured with common sense. If they want to fight, we'll fight with them, Wang Xian said plainly. They did not take the sacred dragon bloodline statement to heart. With his current strength, even if the sacred dragon king came, Wang Xian had a 70% chance of annihilating him. If he joined forces with the Aqua King, Wang Xian had a 100% chance of annihilating him. Although the sacred dragon king had killed the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline, he did not believe that the sacred dragon king would be his match, especially with the addition of the Aqua King. One should know that the Aqua King was a true galactic beast at the Universe Lord realm. Now that she had recovered to the pinnacle of the Universe Supremacy realm, she was no match for those at the same level. She was an old monster that had lived for billions of years. Her accumulation and talent were terrifying. In Wang Xian's opinion, the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline would at most be on par with the Aqua King if he used the inborn cardinal treasure. After all, the Aqua King's previous realm and strength were all there. Get all the disciples of the Dragon Palace back and get ready for battle, Wang Xian ordered. If the sacred dragon bloodline's lair was not at the Light God Mountain, Wang Xian would have gone to their lair. He wanted to experience the strength of the sacred dragon king. However, the sacred dragon bloodline was at the Light God Mountain. The defense and attack methods of that place could easily annihilate Wang Xian. But as long as they attacked, as long as they declared war, the Dragon Palace would fight them to the end. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Let me contact the ancestral dragon bloodline and see what their response is. Wang Xian took out the universe AI and sent a message to Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest. Hiss. The sacred dragon bloodline is about to take action. Those who submit will prosper, and those who oppose will perish. The sacred dragon king wants to unify the mystical dragon bloodline. Unify the divine dragon lineage. The holy dragon king wants to be the king of the divine dragon lineage. The war might start again. There are still many experts in the ancestral dragon bloodline, especially many trusted aides of the ancestral dragon leader. I reckon that a war will break out at that time. The ancestral dragon leader is already dead. How long can the ancestral dragon bloodline last? What's more, the Dragon Palace has also been implicated. The sacred dragon bloodline clearly wants to destroy the Dragon Palace. The battle for the throne of the divine dragon lineage has begun. However, if the sacred dragon lineage wins, the divine dragon lineage will never be able to return to its peak. When the ancestral dragon chief was still alive, there was still hope for him to lead the divine dragon clan back to the peak. Now that he has fallen, it is basically impossible for the divine dragon clan to return to the peak. While Wang Xian was contacting Azure Dragon Su Ying and the rest, countless experts and disciples from various forces were discussing on the AI. In the interior of the great desolate continent, many living beings admired the ancestral dragon chief. They recognized the strength and ambition of the ancestral dragon leader. To them, The ancestral dragon leader was the only hope of the divine dragon clan. As for the sacred dragon king, he had already become a lackey. Once he unified the divine dragon clan, it would represent the decline of the divine dragon clan. However, now that the ancestral dragon leader had fallen, the hope of the divine dragon clan was mostly gone. As for the dragon palace and the dragon king, they did not think that the dragon king was very strong. They did not think that the hope of the divine dragon clan lay in the dragon palace. The main reason was that even though the leader of the ancestral dragon bloodline was dead, the ancestral dragon bloodline was still much stronger than the dragon palace. The current dragon palace was still the weakest among the three forces. Therefore, the experts from the other races in the universe did not think that the dragon palace would win. At the same time, at the bottom of the sea in the land of mountains and seas, there was a dragon palace. This was a golden dragon palace, emitting a majestic aura. In the Dragon King Palace of the Golden Dragon Palace, hundreds of experts from the ancestral dragon bloodline gathered. Among them, Azure Dragon Su Ying and Azure Dragon Yu were here. On the dragon throne of the Dragon King Palace sat a burly old man. The old man was in human form, with a pair of towering dragon horns on his head. This was a senior of the ancestral dragon bloodline, a third-order universe sovereign expert. He was also one of the dozen or so third-order universe sovereigns in the ancestral dragon bloodline. There were more than 100 experts from the ancestral dragon bloodline gathered here. The death of the ancestral dragon leader and the announcement from the sacred dragon bloodline caused the peak experts of the ancestral dragon bloodline to become restless. The scattered disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline began to gather. Senior Golden Dragon King, we must take revenge for our leader. Inside the Dragon King Palace, an old man stood in front of the crowd, his face filled with grief and indignation. Fight the sacred dragon bloodline to the end. Even if we die, we must make them pay the price. The death of our leader is a blood feud for all of us ancestral dragon bloodline disciples. We naturally have to take revenge. The burly old man on the dragon throne was expressionless. To be able to cultivate to such a realm, he no longer had any impulsiveness or rage. He looked at all the disciples with the divine dragon bloodline, as though he was looking at his own children. What we have to face now is how to deal with the sacred dragon bloodline, he said slowly. He was very clear that the death of their leader had put them at a complete disadvantage. They were no longer a match for the sacred dragon bloodline. What they had to consider now was how to deal with the attack of the sacred dragon bloodline. Senior Golden Dragon King, where are the other seniors? If we join forces, it won't be easy for the sacred dragon bloodline to deal with us. One of the ancestral dragon bloodline asked. As for the other dozen, 3 of them are in seclusion. I don't know where they are. The rest are also gathering. This time, we will join forces. When the time comes, we will discuss how to counterattack. The Golden Dragon King did not hide anything. Senior Golden Dragon King, we just received a message from the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. He asked us how to deal with the attack of the sacred dragon bloodline. I think we can join forces with the Dragon Palace. At this time, the green dragon whiskered shadow in the center saw the message and said, Huh, Dragon Palace? Suing, you know the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? The Golden Dragon King's eyes flickered as he asked, Yes, we have a good relationship with the Dragon King. Moreover, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is on the same side as us. The green dragon whiskered shadow nodded. Based on the strength that the Dragon Palace has displayed, they should have at least 3 third-order universe sovereigns. They are indeed a formidable force. Where is the Dragon Palace now? The Golden Dragon King asked. At the eternal river of heaven. The green dragon whiskered shadow replied. The eternal river of heaven is too far. It will take more than a year to fly there. The Golden Dragon King frowned slightly. Chapter 35-38. The inner regions of the great desolate continent were usually very far from each other. Even at his current speed, it would take him over a year to travel from his Golden Dragon King Dragon Palace to the Eternal River. And this was under the condition of using the teleportation array in the middle. Without the teleportation array, it would take at least 7 to 8 years of flight. It is indeed quite far. Azure Dragonbeard Shadow, and the others also frowned slightly. Currently, the ancestral dragon bloodline was very passive. The group of third-order sovereigns from the ancestral dragon bloodline did not dare to gather together. Once they gathered together and their location was known to the sacred dragon bloodline, the sacred dragon king would immediately lead the powerful warriors over. They would not be a match for them. However, there were also disadvantages to splitting up in this situation. If they were too far away, it would be very difficult to send reinforcements. If they gathered together, they would be afraid of being caught in one fell swoop. If they dispersed, they would be afraid of being defeated one by one. It was very difficult for the ancestral dragon lineage now. Master Golden Dragon King, if our ancestral dragon bloodline gathers all of our power together with the power of the Dragon Palace, perhaps we'll be able to resist the Holy Dragon bloodline. The Green Dragon Whiskered Shadow said, if the Dragon Palace has 3 or 4 third-order sovereigns, we might be able to hold them off if we work together. The Golden Dragon King was silent for a moment before nodding in response. Virtual Shadow, little you, both of you go to the Dragon Palace and communicate with the Dragon Palace on behalf of the ancestral dragon lineage. I'll talk to the other Dragon Kings. 1 year later, based on the situation, if it really doesn't work, we'll join forces. The Golden Dragon King continued. Yes, Senior Golden Dragon King. Let's go to the Dragon Palace right now. Azure Dragon Moon nodded. Go. Be careful. The Golden Dragon King waved a hand, and the Azure Dragon Shadow and Azure Dragon Moon bowed toward him. Then, he bowed to the surrounding experts and left immediately. I hope the strength of the Dragon Palace will not disappoint us. The Golden Dragon King murmured to himself. Azure Dragon's whiskers rushed to the Dragon Palace after they left. In other places, the experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline were gathered in the dragon palaces of various third-order sovereigns. According to the situation, they would deal with the sacred dragon bloodline's next attack. In the Dragon Palace at the Eternal River of Heaven, Wang Xian's eyes flickered when he received the replies from Green Dragonbeard Shadow and the rest. The current situation of the ancestral dragon bloodline was indeed a little complicated. They did not have a strong base and did not have the combat power to contend against the Holy Dragon King. He couldn't gather them together, nor could he scatter them. He could only act according to the situation a year later. Then let's wait for a year. Wang Xian murmured. Now, the Dragon Palace was in a passive position. They could not go to the Light God Mountain, so they could only wait for the other party to attack first. However, the spike dragons of the Dragon Palace would be scattered in the surrounding areas, monitoring every movement around the Dragon Palace. A year's time was very short. 10 months later, at the Radiant God Mountain, the son of the Divine Dragon stood before a divine hall. He stood in the middle, and around him stood 10 middle-aged men with terrifying auras. They were the pinnacle experts of the sacred dragon bloodline. The sacred dragon king sat on the throne in front of the temple, looking at his son with dignity. Imperial Father, in this expedition, I will definitely subdue the divine dragon bloodline. Those who submit to the holy dragon bloodline will prosper, and those who oppose us will die. Sun Shanglong cupped his hands respectfully. The ancestral dragon leader has already been eliminated by my father. Leave the rest to me. Haha, good. Leave the rest to my son. The sacred dragon king laughed heartily as he spoke. Imperial Father, wait for my good news. Sun Shanglong said confidently. This time, he would lead 10 third-order universe sovereigns from the sacred dragon bloodline into the expedition personally. He would eliminate all those who resisted. He wanted the sacred dragon bloodline to unify the divine dragon tribe. I will wait here for your good news. The Life Dragon King said with a smile. Yes. Sun Shanglong immediately replied as he swept his gaze across the experts around him. Let's go. Our first target is that old man in seclusion. I want to kill him personally. Sun Shanglong said confidently. All right, this time, we will follow you and help the Dragon King conquer the Divine Dragon Tribe. The group of experts from the Sacred Dragon bloodline smiled faintly and flew out immediately. Outside, 42nd Order Universe Sovereigns followed suit as they flew out. Today was the 10th month since the Sacred Dragon bloodline announced the unification of the Divine Dragon tribe. It was also the last 2 months before they decided to take action. Sun Shenglong set off now because he had found a target, an expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline that had been in seclusion for millions of years, a third-order universe sovereign from the ancestral dragon bloodline. He wanted to kill this third-order universe sovereign to start the war for the sacred dragon bloodline to unify the Divine Dragon tribe. He wanted to warn the disciples of the Divine Dragon tribe that those who submitted would prosper, and those who opposed would perish. Sun Shenglong led the experts from the sacred dragon bloodline to launch an attack. In front of him, a dragon head ruler appeared out of nowhere. The entire ruler emitted dense radiance energy. As long as there was light, the ruler would be able to find experts with the Divine Dragon bloodline. This treasure was given to the sacred dragon bloodline by the King of Angels. There were originally 2, and they were known as the Seeking Dragon Ruler. It was a pity that one of them had been lost by that trash from the 100 City Alliance. It should have been obtained by the Dragon Palace. However, this was not a big deal, as they still had a mother ruler. Sun Shenglong and the rest flew swiftly above the mainland, using radiance energy to conceal themselves. Time passed slowly, and 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. 2 months later, exactly 1 year had passed since the sacred dragon bloodline's announcement. In the sky above a huge lake, Sun Shenglong and the rest slowly appeared. They looked at the lake below, and their faces were filled with coldness and awe. The lake below was called the Crouching Dragon Lake. When the Divine Dragon tribe was still around, this was the residence of the Dragon Palace's Dragon King. After the Divine Dragon tribe perished, this place was occupied by another tribe, an advanced tribe, the Aqua Cloud tribe. The entire lake was shrouded in mist, and the mist was filled with mystery. Sun Shenglong knew that the Aqua Cloud tribe had been subdued by the expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline, and that expert was currently in seclusion at the deepest part of the Crouching Dragon Lake. Kiki, I'll kill you first to warn the rest of the experts with the Divine Dragon bloodline. Sun Shenglong chuckled and signaled to the experts from the sacred dragon bloodline. In the next instant, 10 third-order universe sovereigns and over 20 second-order universe sovereigns all roared in unison. They roared in unison and transformed into their divine dragon forms. A wave of terrifying pressure engulfed the area below. Chapter 35-39. Boom, boom, boom. The sky above the water cloud race was instantly enveloped by a terrifying aura. There were 10 third-order universe sovereigns and over 20 second-order universe sovereigns. With so many experts hovering in the air, just the aura alone was enough to evaporate the clouds above the Crouching Dragon Lake, disappearing without a trace. A terrifying pressure rushed down from the sky. The lake water started to churn and rumble. The terrifying aura caused everything in the surroundings to seem to solidify. With 10 third-order universe sovereigns sealing off an area, even 2 or 3 third-order universe sovereigns would not be able to escape. In a battle of the same realm, 3 against 1 would not even give the opponent a chance to escape before they were killed. Furthermore, according to the news that the Holy Dragon Prince and the rest received, the expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline was in seclusion here. This was the Dragon Palace of the ancestral dragon expert. Lord, did our water cloud race offend you? If we did, we are willing to compensate. Within the Crouching Dragon Lake, when the terrifying aura rushed downwards, the disciples within the water cloud race held their breaths. Some of the weaker disciples even died on the spot. 5 figures from the water cloud race flew out of the lake, their faces covered in cold sweat as they shouted in fear. The water cloud race had half a human's body and half a fish's body. They looked a little like mermaids. They laid on the surface of the water respectfully. Under the pressure, they were filled with fear. Get that Jia from the ancestral dragon bloodline to come out. Today, the Holy Dragon Prince is here to take his head. The Holy Dragon Prince's gaze swept across the 5 water cloud race experts as he barked. Huh. When the 5 water cloud race experts heard this, their pupils constricted. They raised their heads to look at the Holy Dragon Prince and the group of divine dragons and dragon breeds emitting terrifying auras, and their faces changed. Lord Holy Dragon Prince, this is the territory of our water cloud race. There is no expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline here. The elder in the middle of the water cloud race said respectfully, "Ha ha ha, not coming out? If you don't come out, I will annihilate your entire water cloud race today." When the Holy Dragon Prince heard their words, his face was filled with a cold expression. He extended his arm, and his arm turned into a terrifying dragon claw as he slashed towards the 5 water cloud race experts. No. The 5 experts from the Water Cloud clan were merely at the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Sensing Sun Shang's attack, their faces revealed looks of despair. Boom. However, before they could react, the light dragon claw landed on their bodies and instantly obliterated them. At the same time, the radiant dragon claw attacked the crouching dragon lake at a terrifying speed. Lord Holy Dragon Son, we really don't have the ancestral dragon powerhouse that you mentioned? At the bottom of the crouching dragon lake, a few hundred figures blocked the terrifying dragon claw and shouted loudly, "If not, then I'll annihilate your water cloud clan." Roar. Sun Shanglong's eyes were filled with disdain and killing intent. He looked down as though he was looking at a bunch of ants. He immediately transformed into his divine dragon form and said, "A bunch of reckless fools. Today, I will exterminate your entire clan." Sun Shanglong, you're courting death. At this moment, a violent voice came from below, and a terrifying figure with a sky-blue dragon's head and a special fishtail flew out from inside. He had a huge body that was tens of thousands of meters long, and his body emitted blue light. Ha ha ha, Jia of the ancestral dragon bloodline. You're really here. Sun Shanglong laughed maniacally when he saw the figure that flew out. The ancestral dragon bloodline powerhouse, Jia, looked at the group of radiant divine dragons and dragon species in the sky, and his eyes narrowed. Sun Shanglong, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to become enemies with the ancestral dragon bloodline? He stared coldly at Sun Shanglong and roared, "Jia, have you turned stupid after being in seclusion? The war between the sacred dragon bloodline and the ancestral dragon bloodline has already erupted for more than 1,000 years. Your ancestral dragon leader has already been annihilated by my father. Ha ha ha, you want me to become enemies with the ancestral dragon bloodline? What a joke." When Sun Shanglong heard his words, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. "That's impossible. How can our ancestral dragon leader be a traitor like you? How can that lackey of the sacred dragon king kill him?" Jia roared in a low voice with a face full of belief. However, just as he finished his sentence, he heard the voice of the Water Cloud clan's leader. The voice rang in his mind. When he heard the news, his expression changed drastically. "That's impossible. How can our ancestral dragon leader be killed by the sacred dragon king?" He roared in disbelief. As he had been in seclusion, the Water Cloud clan couldn't disturb him. Therefore, he had just received the news. This was unbelievable to him. The Lord Ancestral Dragon Leader was actually killed by the Sacred Dragon King. Haha, don't worry. It won't be long before all of the Ancestral Dragon bloodline will accompany your Ancestral Dragon Leader. Jia, I'll give you a chance to choose. Submit to the Sacred Dragon bloodline or die. Sun Shanglong roared with a maniacal smile. Submit to you? Submit to traitors and lackeys like you. A thing that has tarnished the bloodline of the Divine Dragon? Jia's eyes turned red as he stared at Sun Shanglong and roared malevolently. You're courting death. Since you've chosen death, I'll fulfill your wish. Today, I'll personally kill you. Sun Shanglong had a stern look in his eyes. He swayed his huge body and attacked Jia. One-on-one. If you can withstand it, I'll only take your head. If you lose one-on-one, I'll annihilate the entire Water Cloud clan. Ha ha ha, let's fight. Sun Shanglong roared. He opened his mouth and the connate cardinal treasure pair of dragon eyes appeared in front of him. His body shook again. A radiant mountain peak that emitted a terrifying aura appeared above his body. The mountain peak also emitted a terrifying aura. 2 connate cardinal treasures. These were the connate cardinal treasures that the sacred Dragon King had given him. With 2 connate cardinal treasures, the Sun Sheng Long was basically invincible. Two connate cardinal treasures. When Jia saw the pair of dragon eyes and the radiant mountain peak, his heart raced violently. His eyes revealed an unusually embarrassed look. He was a pinnacle dragon species, and his combat power wasn't any weaker than the light divine dragon. However, he didn't have a terrifying connate cardinal treasure weapon. With such a weapon, one could kill someone of the same level. Yet, he had two of them. Kill. However, at this moment, he also knew that his rejection meant that he would definitely die today. However, he didn't want the Water Cloud clan to be implicated. He was filled with the will to die and charged forward. He fought with his life on the line,